something that can be expressed through a mere speech, or a debate, or an ideology. Freedom comes from love. And in every story, as timeless as it might be through the generations, love is our ultimate survival.
Tell you this, Avi, you definitely do your homework.
It was intellectually stimulating, and which is kind of a unique thing in this world of ours today.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator and travel with me, because I will pay you.
And Avi, great job. This is interesting and different.
Well, thank you very much. I can't think of a better way to begin the new year than with you.
Avi is a poet, but he doesn't know it, but his feet show it.
You're unbelievable.
That goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
It'd be fantastic to win this thing. First thing I would do is set up story performances over in Greece, and I'd like to do it in one of the ancient theaters.
Why would I not want to be able to go from Marathon to Athens and trace the original steps?
Going to Greece with my wife and my family and having a great time. Let's win this.
Just like in sports, I'm sure Jim would say the same thing. You don't play for individual awards.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to be able to say I beat all these guys.
I'm trying to go to Greece.
I'm here to win the whole thing.
I come here to chew gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
It really is about winning.
Yeah, heck yeah, I'm here to win it.
I'm here to do my best.
Everybody has some pride.
Victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. I plan on winning tonight.
Here doing mental push-ups.
Winning is really important. What's even greater is inspiring. That's what you do with this show.
Well, you're in it to win it, or why be in it at all?
I'm about winning.
I think I'd be more interested in the prize.
It's about the prize.
I am here to go for the gusto.
Why are you keeping score if you don't want to win?
102 Hall of Famers and
Oh, yeah, because I'm going to win it. We all want to win.
I'm here to win.
Of course, I'd love to win.
I'm always in it to win it, Avi.
I'm definitely in it to win it.
I've already won. I hate losing. I want to go to Greece.
It's about the pride. You don't want to come in second. You want to be first.
Well, of course I am. I don't do nothing to lose.
Yes, I do. Of course I do. I want to go to Greece.
I have a newborn daughter. I'm here to win it for her.
Wouldn't be on here if I wasn't going to win something.
Yes, I'm going to win it all, man. I'm winning it all, baby.
Going for it.
Party people! That's right. I'm here. Nothing better than the top. Well, I'm going to give it 110%.
We don't go out with no losing mentality.
I'm here to win.
Yeah. Yes, I'm here to win the whole thing, man. I don't get in the ring for losing, man. I'm like in the ring right now.
To do the best I can. Looking forward to it.
But I am here to win.
I'm here to win it.
If it has competition in it, I definitely want to be the one to win it.
And have to want to win this thing.
Lamoni always gets his man. I'm going to win.
I don't play. I just win.
Of course. So, yeah. Darn right I want to win this thing.
Just say this, Avi. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Listen, I got the whole pride of my family riding on tonight's event.
The most dangerous place on this show is between me and that prize. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
I'm a winner. I was born a winner. I didn't come here to lose.
You had me at Greece, baby. I told you I've never been.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd never enter a competition without trying to win.
Everyone's here to win.
Would you want to win this entire thing, Mr. Douglas?
Most definitely.
I love it, guys.
I'm a bad man.
Yes, you are.
I can fight.
I'm not only going to win the thing, but I'm going to be a champion, and I'm going to take both of my competitors with me.
But I'm here to win this entire TKN celebrity game.
Are you here to win the entire tournament, my friend?
I don't play unless I'm going to win.
winning is not an option. I got to be a legend because I won.
You know, I saw that video package and I saw a very familiar face in Mike Rotundo. He was here for the winner chicken dinner, and I want to take away that chicken dinner. So yes, I want to win this.
Well, I have won the film that I just finished in Greece. I have another one coming up in September. So yes, it would be lovely.
You know, winning isn't everything. It is the only thing.
Yeah, she was Kathy Shumway. Very good. That's very impressive. And I played her boyfriend for a while, and then suddenly I was, a name at her. I was somewhat famous and got some good parts in a Paul Schrader movie called Blue Collar with Yaphet Kotto, Harvey Keitel, and Richard Pryor.
I mean, that was fantastic. You are great. The only other person that has that kind of spontaneity and the gift of gab was the late, great Chick Hearn. We thought Golden Throat was gone, but he's reincarnated in you.
You're sheer 9 or 10. You're probably 9.5.
Oh.
10 is, no one's perfect. But honest to God, you're terrific. You do your homework. And
I appreciate
I've done
that.
everybody. I've done everything. I've done, in the 80s, I did Johnny Carson. I did Merv Griffin. I did it all. And you're very energetic and good, and you ask the right questions.
Now, if I hear any giggling...
Another trio of questions, now more underrated. We have Billy D. Williams, Italian men named Skippy, or unicycle.
Abolish the political parties.
I'll tell you this, Av, you definitely do your homework. Hey, like I said, the good thing about you're extremely prepared.
The Sopranos. You go too far.
Oh, where'd you get that book from?
Yeah, there we go.
That's my yearbook. That's
Yeah.
easy. I say what? You did your homework.
John Amos.
Man, what an introduction. I hope I can live up to that. And God bless you. I'm prepared to take on this challenge of this wonderful monologue that you've written. And I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do after I read it again for maybe the third or fourth time.
I've just been waiting on one of those introductions, and I was sitting there watching the opening of the show, seeing all these guys talk about, oh man, thank you, that was the greatest introduction we've ever had. And I'm sitting here, I'm saying to myself, please, I'm waiting on him to introduce me.
Thank you for that great introduction. This is awesome.
Avi, thank you, man. That is quite the introduction. I've done a ton of these things, as you know. I've never had an intro like that.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator and travel with.
Thank you. You said things about me that I don't even remember. And what a collection of wonderful personalities you have.
I think you should write my own book like the intro. Would you do that again?
You're amazing, brother. I was always known as a good talker, but I don't know what the hell to say after listening to you. You're amazing.
Thanks, man. That was great. I love the introduction. Yes.
I'll be like, move it.
My friend, I am glad that I'm getting to know you. You are one hell of a human being.
Oh, man. Thank you, Avi. I appreciate it, man.
Wow, dude. And that is amazingly everything that's happened in my life up till this moment right now.
Because when you could stay on and do this, I could have stayed on for hours more.
I had a great time. It was great. I mean, your intro for me was just awesome, but also the intro to the show was like, wow, you have all of these people.
Oh, I had a blast, man. This was absolutely phenomenal. I hope this takes off even bigger and better.
I had a wonderful time, Avi. You gave me good eargasm tonight, man. I love your voice. I love the things that you talk about, man.
It's completely different. I mean, it's not like a podcast at all. Avi, the way you talk, you're amazing, brother.
Is eargasm a word?
It is now.
You have something amazing going with the show but you're there and you're educating us. You're taking people from different eras, different disciplines. You're taking us out of our comfort zone. You're making us fall in love with people that we didn't know.
I may have had great intros, but I shall never have better.
Wow, man. You need to go everywhere with me with that intro, man.
Holy smokes, Avi. Where did you get that information from?
Who was writing around for you?
Thank you, Avi. Wow, that was an incredible introduction.
Welcome to the Wow. My friend.
Of my face, even when I came on, I'm just like in awe.
Avi, thank you very much. That was absolutely beautiful, man.
Oh my gosh, I am overwhelmed. that was incredible and exciting.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And like so many others in the intro and now, let me applaud your dexterity with the language.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Marvelous intro. Thank you very much.
Wow. Oh, my dear, what an intro. Boy, you do your homework.
Hey, Avi, beautiful. Great entree.
Thank you very much. Hell of a info. I tell you that.
Oh my gosh, Avi, that's awesome. You know what? I call you the Larry Bird of introductions.
Thank you, Avi. That was, oh man, I got chill bumps just listening to you.
That was a good introduction.
Wow. That was great, man. That was great.
Damn. I didn't know I was that famous. Thank you for letting me know who I am.
Well, Avi, thank you very much for that warm welcome.
The greatest wealth is when you can share it with someone. You can express your deepest feelings, but the greatest wealth is to be able to say that I have a friend. And I feel an unbelievable level of wealth. And a lot of that is because I have somebody like you.
Thank you, Avi. And if I could say something to you.
Yes,
you know, I've been through a really rough time the last month, and I really thank your support. I lost my father, and you were the first person to support me and all that, and I thank you so much for that. It meant a lot to me.
Did you find the technique itself helpful when it came to observing your scene partner staying present instead of strictly relying upon memory?
It's a great question, Albert.
I really enjoyed this, man. You're a smart guy and you ask really good questions. And
Last name Mantegna, first name Joe. Joe, welcome, my friend.
I think I have whiplash, Avi. Thank you very much.
What a hell of an introduction. That was cool, man. I don't even think Michael Buffer did it better than you, brother.
I stand in awe of your memory and your ability to rhyme.
What an incredible introduction, Avi. That is probably the best introduction I've ever had.
Jake Roberts, my friend.
Wow, that was scary.
I am so grateful for our friendship. And you know what? You appreciate things in people that make such a difference.
All of the actors and directors, different worlds come together. This is like a sanctuary for those people because we don't always get to talk about the things that really truly move us. I love this show because it makes me feel.
This is different. I don't even know where you come up with these questions. You're so innovative. I love it, man, because it got me thinking.
It was intellectually stimulating, which is a unique thing in this world of ours today.
I had a fabulous time. Thanks for having me on the show.
And Avi, great job. This is interesting and different.
It was awesome. It was really great.
Wow, thank you. What an amazing introduction.
And I really enjoyed every minute of it, man. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm just happy I made it to the next round.
And you, Avi, I have a great deal of respect for your resume as well. I mean, I've done many interviews over the years, but this has been one of the most fun by far.
Well, thank you very much. I can't think of a better way to begin the new year than with you.
Have fun tonight, my friend?
Yes, I did. People are willing and open. I like that.
It's good to be able to see that you bring people together that, you know what, maybe one of the world's problems will get solved by listening to this show. And I want you to accept the accolades that you get from all of these brilliant people. They tell you that you're smart. They tell you that you're exposed. These are comments and compliments that you have to say, thank you very much, I accept.
Wasn't sure what to expect. You're number one in my book as far as putting on a podcast.
You know what? You're a very interesting person. I mean,
please.
you with all this rhyming stuff, you must really put a lot of effort into this and
Graves, is teaching this craft as rewarding for you as performing it?
I think sometimes it's more rewarding.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. You do a great job preparing.
A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect. I hope you're getting paid a lot. That was the greatest intro I think I've ever had.
It's terrific and it's fun and keep bringing diverse personalities together. I think that's great. And it's also wonderful to hear people talk sanely to each other today.
I can't tell you how refreshing it is that somebody knows what they're doing.
You know, usually I'll do interviews and get asked the same questions about Stephen King. This was great to talk about things that matter, that go beyond projects.
Wow, when I have a retirement party, even at my funeral, you better show up.
That was one of the best introductions I've ever had in my entire life. Better than my bar mitzvah.
Papa Smurf as a hip hop artist.
Yo, yeah.
You're very talented. That's amazing.
Mr. Sizemore, first name Tom. How are you, my friend? So I could turn the volume lower if you'd like next time, if you'd like me to do that.
I don't know what I can do now.
First name Keith.
Oh my God, what a great introduction. Fantastic. You do your research, connected with me right there. And he knows my brand. This is why your audiences love you. This is why you continue to great guests. And great guests beget great guests.
I enjoy myself so much. Oh, man.
I love the questions. Honestly, like that perspective in life.
Hey, listen, brother, it was so much fun. I'm so glad I'm moving on to the next round.
Avi, you do an amazing job. I appreciate you and appreciate this format.
Again, you do a lot of virtuals. You had a nice time tonight, Mickey James?
I had a great time.
I'm happy about that.
I actually had a great time. I got a great chance to get to know the other two contestants.
I had a great time, and if I go up against Jimmy McMahon, can we do it in the same room together?
I really enjoyed myself. Thank you. Yeah.
Did you have a nice time, Sally?
I did. A wonderful time.
I appreciate you. You have a great rest of the weekend, my friend. Had a fun time?
I did. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, very different.
I always enjoy it when I do it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, had a great time.
I can't wait, bro. I just nail the fear that's going to run through everybody else who has to compete with us.
I had a great time. I mean, listen, it's just bringing people together.
Practically family. If you're from Houston, one day we're going to see each other in person. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I had a blast. It opened my eyes. It opened my eyes to people and their own trials, tribulations.
Television ratings, he managed to take not one, not two, but 3 shows off the air in 1 week. Ellen Seinfeld and Damon, ladies and gentlemen, the Grim Reaper of television, John O'Hurley.
You showed us your heart and soul, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I really do love what you're doing.
I respect you a ton. Can't wait to talk to you soon and work with you as well.
It's like Saturday Night Live all over again.
You have accomplished something that is absolutely amazing. It's amazing. There's no words to describe what you are doing. You are getting the best out of everybody, out of every discipline, and you're putting it out there and sharing it with everybody that, you know what, your show should be in every school. They should listen because you bring good values. You bring it's amazing what you're doing, Avi, and you know everybody's telling you, but take it from me. What you are doing is educating. The world is a better place thanks to you.
I think it's fabulous. I'm excited.
It is Party Central, guys and gals and pals, because we are live, as always, Saturday night, 186 consecutive episodes. And guys and gals, if you're a fan of fiery, unbridled passion, that intro says it all, as it can melt the South Pole. This place we call the Green Room is filled with edutainment and has plenty of heart and soul. It's time I listen to Stanislavski and take a beat as I process everything in real time. This is again the 186th consecutive episode of The Green Room, a feeling that cannot be expressed through a mere rhyme. With a bevy of views on 53-plus pages, week in and week out, innovation is our name and the sweat is the sweet. Dedication, labor, and innovation only arrive when your effort is absolute. Put that in a tweet. And in this celebrity tournament that has captivated the masses, the field is one of a kind. Luminaries from all walks of life gathering to compete for the pride and the prize. This is truly a sport of the mind. Sure, the numbers are fantastic. On 53 pages, not including my own, but what's even sweeter is the sweat. By that, I mean good old-fashioned work ethic, wholehearted passion, effort, and consistency never, ever lead to regret. The good bard, Mr. Shakespeare himself, said our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to. And those words ring oh so true. It means that you are the author of your story. Don't edit your vision due to others that secretly prefer to boo while attempting to obstruct your view. With 13 grand and a trip for 2 to Greece and becoming the first champion of this star-studded field, a lot is on the line. But you, our audience, the engine that makes this thing go, are the sweet nectar that we appreciate like fine old wine. As strangers, we become friends, and we all come together. Let's remember that we are closer than one might surmise. Limitless visions of innovative bliss, experienced by Ensemble, is the vision behind these eyes. Never, ever hate the flower for starting out as a seed. Long distance running is essential. This isn't some stampede, so don't run anyone over on your way to the top. Focus on yourself and never forget to cheerlead. Root for your loved ones and lift people up. This human fortune cookie hopes that we've all agreed that positivity is something that we can never, ever concede. So with that, guys and gals, I'm going to bring in not one, but two of our special celebrity judges, guys, starting with our very first right now. Guys and gals and pals, my next guest here on the Green Room has done it all, and he's a true friend, and I value him so very much. He is an educator. He is a family man. And his foray into the NBA many moons ago proved that he was quite ambitious and gallant. He coached high school hoops back in Phoenix, and much like myself, he taught U.S. history. He sent out scouting reports to the NBA, and his love for the game was no mystery. The first NBA team he scouted was still lacking a bit of pizzazz. They were located in a city befitting of their name, even if they didn't quite yet have all that jazz. He received his first break as assistant coach of the San Diego Clippers under Paul Silas. It wasn't his fault that some of those Clipper teams left fans a little eyeless, hard to watch. But he moved on to Denver, where he became the president, general manager, and part owner. The Nuggets team knew how to razzle and dazzle. I had the New York Knicks, who made me a bit of a moaner. He became the GM of the Atlanta Hawks for 13 years, starting in 1990. From Dominique to Spud Webb to Leitner, and of course, the finger-waving Dikembe. The paper that he helped write for the White House should be consumed by the masses. If it were up to me, building character through sports would be taught in all classes. He served on the committee to select the team and coaching staff for Dream Team 3. Yeah, by the way, they won the gold. I can name the entire roster off the top of my head. Not a good thing. It means I'm getting really old. See the gray over here in the beard? He's helped many in the community improve their lives. That might be the award of awards. No greater feat. I'd like to welcome a gentleman, a man who's honest, personified, last name Babcock, first name Pete. Pete Babcock, welcome, my friend.
Javi, how are you? Good to see you. You know, the only thing you need to improve on, Avi, is you got to come out of your shell a little bit, and you got to get rid of these your introverted tendencies. You've got to let those go. Right?
Working on it. I'm working on it. No. I figured going live would help. But I got to tell you something. You're amazing. But look, I have to throw it right back at you because your dedication to our show, Intertwining Thoughts, one of 70-plus shows, not to mention this tournament that happens every Saturday, but 70-plus shows with luminaries from all walks of life. But the fact that you're able to interweave history, basketball, civil rights, the way that we do as former history teachers, it is an honor to have conversations with you both on air and off air, my friend.
Thank you, Avi. I feel the same way.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, so that's great.
I know that you were looking forward to judging tonight, my friend. You are in round number 2. You're one of the first to go to round number 2. Scott William Winters, your first opponent, said the Battle of Phoenix is something he's still looking forward to if he comes back. What are your thoughts there, Mr. Babcock?
I mean, I got a chance to debate Scott again.
It could be. You never know, right? Over 100 people in round 2.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do it twice, but I got lucky the first time. But that was fun. Scott was great.
Absolutely, my friend. I will put you backstage momentarily and bring in the luminaries competing.
Okay.
Mr. Pete Babcock, guys and gals, a wonderful human being. Again, someone who really emphasizes what matters in life. Guys and gals, our first participant is waiting in the wings, and let's bring him in right about now. And I cannot wait for this, guys. Again, who will be coming out? Leave your predictions in the comment section. Our first participant grew up in Philadelphia, PA, and did it all as he was a seasonal athlete. Football, basketball, baseball? Should I repeat? Nah, let me add some more. Track, gymnastics. The man did it all, and the audience asked for an encore because his commitment to excellence was something we couldn't ignore, like a mid-'80s scent brought to us by Christian Dior or an early 90s version of Pauly Shore. Guys, stopping dead in our tracks to observe this man's athletic excellence should have been a golden rule. He graduated in 76. He was the most lettered athlete with 11 varsity awards in high school. Despite his eclectic sports background, he had a particular passion for gymnastics, which was his primary focus when he attended Temple University. He got down to the nitty-gritty, and Coach Fred Turoff was privy that even as a freshman, our luminary was better than the seniors, which was a consensus. No need for a committee to determine that this was a special athlete, not some Tom, Dick, or Harry. Not only did this gentleman make the Temple University varsity gymnastics team, but in 1981, he became a member of the USA national team. He was one of only 14 gymnasts to represent his country, as success was his reoccurring theme. He continued to compete as a member of the USA national team, while Temple and East Stroudsburg benefited from him as their coach. The players related to him as they maximized their growth, much in part to his terrific approach. He was a 3-time recipient of the NCAA's Assistant Coach of the Year award while at Ohio State, And at East Stroudsburg, he coached the national championship team and won Coach of the Year. His resume is as vast and deep as the good bard himself, Mr. Shakespeare. And to think he could have made it in the NFL or NBA, perhaps maybe as a Tampa Buccaneer or a Cleveland Cavalier. He was resilient to life's many challenges and would rebound like a mid-70s Bob Lanier. Let's get back to his impressive career. In his first head coaching job, he guided the Warriors to a national championship in 1988. His success paved the way for an assistant coaching position at Ohio State. As I continue to narrate, like Robert Stack, but this isn't some unsolved mystery, this man was already making history while educating the masses and providing glee. Like a couple in the French Riviera enjoying some creme brulee, he prepared to deliver, guys and gals, a bouquet, because it's now time for the entree as I go through his incredible resume. He was a member of the men's coaching staff at 4 Olympic Games, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008. He served as a head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes men's gymnastics team from 98 to 2010. He has been the personal coach of numerous world and Olympic team members and medalists. His impressive list of athletes include Paul Hamm, 5-time world medalist and 3-time Olympic medalist. The first USA man to win the world and Olympic all-around titles, Blaine Wilson. A 5-time U.S. all-around champion, 3-time Olympian and 2004 Olympic team silver medalist, Morgan Hamm. 2003 world team silver medalist, 2-time Olympian, and a 2-time U.S. floor champion. In his 13 years as head coach at Ohio State University, he led the Buckeyes to the 2001 NCAA title and 5 Big Ten championships. He also produced 3 NCAA all-around champions, 9 NCAA event champions, and 22 All-Americans. He's earned numerous awards and accolades during his career, which include 3-time NCAA Assistant Coach of the Year, 2001 NCAA Coach of the Year, 5-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, and 2-time USA Gymnastics Coach of the Year in 2005 and 2008. Guys and gals, in 2015 and 16, he was a Cities qualifier and NBC's American Ninja Warrior. Despite the name, the fame, and the acclaim, this man was still the same. But in 2017, the ultimate honor as he was inducted into the USA Gymnastics Hall of Fame. I could keep mentioning his many styles, but I don't want to keep you in suspense like a mid-90s episode of The X-Files. So let's see those smiles as I welcome a legendary athlete and human being to this tournament. Last name Avery, first name Miles. Miles Avery, welcome to the TKN Celebrity Tournament, my friend.
Avi, thank you. That was such a, as everyone says, an incredible introduction. You know, you forget about some of those things you've done, you know, because you've been around so long, and to just bring it up to hear it that, yeah, I've been around a long time and I've done a lot of things, and thank you for that intro.
Well, I'll tell you what, as impressive as that last chapter of your life is, I can't wait for this next one. And you have helped so many people. You still do that in real time. I know how many people you inspire day to day. That's what it's all about. But I've got to ask you the magic question over here at the end of the day. We now have, as of tonight, I believe it's 116 Hall of Famers from the world of sports, music, wrestling, not to mention Oscar, Grammy, Tony, Emmy, Golden Globe, AMA, WGA, and Olympians all competing for the pride of the prize. Are you here to win it all, my friend?
There is only one thing to competition. That's to win. I'm here to have fun. And I tell my kids that I coach every day, the most fun you can have is winning.
Wow. Miles Avery, guys and gals, again, the way this works is round number 2 will begin in a few months. 2 out of 3 will advance unless there's a tie and all 3 move on. That's happened a few times. We know it could, but let's see what happens. Miles, I'm going to put you backstage for a moment, my friend.
Okay.
Guys, the great Miles Avery, and again, an inspirational human being. What he does with all of his students and people from all different walks of life, helping them. It's not about the name or the acclaim or the fame. It's about what speaks to him, which is putting it out there and being a great human being. That's what he is. Guys and gals, we are filled with great human beings tonight because I bring in our second luminary right now, guys. Our second luminary, who again is a wonderful individual in the short time I've gotten to know him. Guys and gals and pals, our second participant was born in Detroit, Michigan to parents Kenneth and Carol. These were the days of writer J.G. Farrell. Like TV shows, we can't forget Combat and 12 O'Clock High ruled the airways along with 50s apparel. His father, Kenneth, loved hunting and fishing, and he was very hardworking, but he had a very tough life. He dealt with debilitating headaches due to issues with his spinal cord, but he still never gave in to strife. His mother was very devoted to her family, including our luminary and his siblings, Lori and Mark. On Saturdays, he'd stay home with his brother and make a gallon of chocolate malt and watch Dick Clark. He went to Dort Elementary School years before his creativity and genius created many a story arc. As we witnessed his company skyrocket like a space mission led by Iron Man's alter ego, Tony Stark. He loved geography and history, and he would often imagine visiting Japan, Europe, India, and China. I can relate, as this former history teacher did the same, much to the chagrin of my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Dinah. History was my present, whether it was learning about Indochina or the Battle of Carolina. Our luminary grew up in a time where throwing rocks and dirt at friends epitomized why kids playing outdoors was quite the oasis. The nurses in the ER at Saratoga Hospital on Gratiot Avenue definitely knew him on a first-name basis. He got his first job when he was 6, 7, or maybe 8, as an Italian couple owned a little grocery store named Lucy's down the block from his house. He's been working ever since, which lends credence to his ideologies regarding work ethic that was instilled in him by his father, which he will always espouse. In 1968, when he was in 8th grade, his dad got a job opportunity in Pittsburgh, so they packed up and moved to suburban Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, and alas, they thought they died and gone to heaven, as the development they lived in was much more middle class. At age 16, his neighbor, Bob Rakiapi, hired him to do odd jobs in light construction years before they knew his name from Shanghai to Mumbai. Going to school in Penn Hills, he began wrestling in the 126-pound weight class in his junior high. In 1970, when he was in 10th grade, his father got a new job in Minneapolis, and even though he didn't want to leave for Pittsburgh, it wasn't up for debate. Perhaps that was a calling, as soon the cold chill of that state would certainly be described as something we call fate. He liked riding motorcycles and graduated from minibike at age 10 to a Honda 160 when he was 16. Trading that in for a Honda Superhawk was a milestone motorcycle. One has to respect such a machine. As a senior, his AAU freestyle wrestling team was selected to compete against a team from Sweden that was touring the United States. Needing to sell tickets and get the word out, he reached out to one of the all-time greats. Vern Gagne supported amateur wrestling, so when he called the AWA offices, he spoke to the face of the AWA, Wally Carbo. He asked to do an interview on air. Much to his surprise, Carbo said, "Sure, why don't you come down to the studio?" He would work for the AWA years later. But he worked all through high school, running about a Bobcat bulldozer, driving a dump truck, and in an animal hospital. But then something happened in 1973. He wrestled a farm-strong kid named Joe Boyer and blew out his knee. After attending St. Cloud, he transferred to the University of Minnesota, and by 1976, he and a friend ended up building a large commercial landscape company that was off the charts. He bought his first house at age 21, but soon he'd find his new passion. I'm speaking of martial arts. He had a wicked left hand, as his opponents would rather drown than experiencing his right hand, while he swept your front left and punched you with his left as you were going down. He was on CBS Sports fighting a match called Semi-Contact years before he was dealing with personalities and many a contract. From an innovative line called Ninja Star Wars to a bevy, a smorgasbord, a plethora of incredible concepts, this man has one of the most innovative minds of all time. And to think, the latter was all accomplished before he even reached his prime. Working in the AWA as a commentator in 86 to 90 preceded his time in WCW as an announcer. He gained everyone's respect. Although he was kind, he didn't take crap from anyone, whether you were a pro wrestler or a big man working at an establishment as a bouncer. He was hired in 93 as the executive producer for WCW and was promoted to senior vice president in 1994. He cut costs, recorded shows in well-lit locations, as WCW was no longer a bore, as wrestling fans wanted more and more, as his product spoke to the masses who were clamoring for an encore. So he continued to explore. And did he ever? As his creative juices, work ethic, and ability to work around standards and practices, limitations and obstacles is remarkable, and is something that any businessman should respect. Take this in for a moment. The man worked with the biggest suits and ties who could detect that he was quite the visionary and also an architect. So when Ted Turner asked him why WCW wasn't beating the then WWF, all I have to do is hit you with an easy rhyme. He said, heck, we can kick their butt. Just make sure to put us on prime time. With limited time, this man was given the opportunity to do just that as his baby Monday Nitro hit the airways on September 4th, 1995. All of a sudden, pro wrestling began to thrive. The fans felt so very alive, and WCW was no longer a company that was content to merely survive. As much like this very show, they always did it live. Cruiserweights, main event matches, diversity on the card, and storylines that never insulted anyone's intelligence. Important demographics, doing his due diligence. He revolutionized the industry. And in 1996, his brainchild became the single greatest storyline in pro wrestling history that would continue to grow and grow. I'm speaking of something that reached millions of fans, known as the NWO. 83 consecutive weeks of defeating his opponents up north, known as the WWF on Monday nights. Revenue and top dollar entertainment, seeing WCW not only turn a profit for the first time, but it became a global brand, all occurred because this man simply didn't sleep. For yours truly, Avi Klein, who sleeps 3 hours a night, building his brand that hits mighty deep. He's produced over 2,500 hours of original programming, over half of it live, 79 pay-per-view events that generated more than $300 million in revenue. Executive produced movies, produced over 1,500 live events around the world, and his book made the New York Times bestseller list in the fall of 2007. Many would gloat, but he doesn't, as his humble approach to life and his family are the true definition of heaven. On April 6th, guys and gals, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. But despite the name, the acclaim, and knowing the game, this man is as real as they come. He doesn't rely on shtick, even though he can rock the stick. He's built companies brick by brick with innovation, consistency, work ethic, and production value that is so very polished and slick. So put your hands together for a highly intelligent, kind, down-to-earth human being and legend. Last name Bischoff, first name Eric. Eric, welcome, my friend.
I just experienced sympathy cardio. My heart rate's about 120 beats a minute just listening to that intro, brother. I don't know how you do it. Thank you very, very much.
Well,
that was awesome.
Thank you for not only being so accomplished, but thank you for also rooting for the underdog, believing in yourself, being down to earth, never letting suits and ties affect you, being a man that values and prioritizes what matters more than anything, which is family, and having a very positive outlook on life, Mr. Bischoff.
Well, thank you very much. It's taken me a while to get here, and I stumbled a lot along the way, but thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You deserve all the accolades, my friend. I have to ask you the same question I asked Miles. A lot of luminaries in this thing. Eric, I know you're a competitor as well. Are you here to win the entire TKN Celebrity Tournament?
I'm going to be honest with you, Avi. Winning really wasn't that interesting to me initially. I was so excited about your format and just, it's such a unique idea. I was anxious to participate and just be here with the other luminaries and celebrities. But then I heard about this trip to Greece, and it kind of changed things because I don't know, one of the things you did miss in my bio is that I'm a Kalamata olive connoisseur. And just the fact that there's an opportunity for my wife and I to go to the motherland and study Kalamata olives and talk to the growers there it's a bucket list thing. So yeah, I'm here to win it. Damn it. I'm here to win big.
I love it, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. Greece, definitely on the line. Of course, guys and gals, Mr. Eric Bischoff, a man who is a Renaissance man without question. I'm going to put you backstage for a moment, my friend.
Thank you.
Guys, the great Eric Bischoff and the great Miles Avery already with Pete Babcock here. We've already won. And guys, our third luminary right now, introducing him right now is on the horizon. Our last participant tonight is from Alberta, Canada, specifically Spruce Grove. He watched his tireless efforts in pubs, living rooms, or even in a hidden alcove. It was best to see him live, so many of us drove to witness his vast array of talents, which was quite the treasure trove. He was adopted by parents Betty and Robert, who was an optimist and an insurance salesman. And before I continue, allow me to sip on some water and enjoy this drink. That was okay, but you know what I think? It wasn't as enjoyable as being able to turn my basement into a makeshift hockey rink. That's right, his father allowed him to do just that as he played with a soft puck and with a stick. He got his first pair of skates at age 4, which is quick if you think about it, as most of us at age 4 would have had our fingers up our nose as we'd endlessly pick while watching Saturday morning cartoons, which are no longer considered quite the relic. In Saskatoon, where the family lived for 10.5 months, his childhood was filled with glee as his father made a backyard rink during the first winter snap, and he skated endlessly. Even as a 7-year-old, he knew he would excel, as he announced to his family that he would be a goaltender in the NHL. He had a natural ability from a tender age and was very well coordinated. He was truly dedicated and elated, as his coordination even astounded his teacher in grade 1, as they dictated that he was special indeed, as during days and nights he skated and concentrated. He was, guys and gals, such a legend that his eyes would soon rejoice and appreciate the wonder of all that he created, as he demonstrated an elevated, understated level of excellence. By the time he was a teenager, he excelled in every sport offered at Composite High in Spruce Grove, a town of 6,900 people 18 miles from Edmonton. The records he still holds only begin to tell a tale of someone who would never be outdone. He was such an outstanding multi-sport athlete that the following shouldn't be some sort of head-scratcher. Hockey aside, in '79 at age 16, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates as a lefty catcher. He never pursued the offer because hockey was so in that year. He left school to play with the Victoria Cougars of the Western Hockey League. His style was as diverse, and he never met a foe named fatigue, like when the Soviets battled the Germans in World War II using their own attack against them, known as the Blitzkrieg. He was 5'9", with strong legs, good eyes, and hands that defied description, and soon many would rejoice. Such was the case at age 18 when he was on Edmonton's roster as the #1 entry draft choice. On the ice, this man would always thrive, not merely survive, as in 1985, he had 15 playoff victories, equaling the NHL record. I ain't giving you no jive. One cannot forget his legend in the mid-'70s when he played for the Tomahawks, or when at age 17 he joined the Victoria Cougars of the WHL. His opponents would look up and upon seeing him wish that they were on a universe that was parallel. This man was a first ballot Hall of Famer, so let me read some of his mind-boggling, out-of-this-world accomplishments and accolades. Take this in. He played in the National Hockey League All-Star Game in 84, 85, 86, 88, 89. As an Edmonton Oiler, he won the Stanley Cup 4 times in 5 seasons, 83 through 84 through 87 to 88. He was a workhorse, and in 87, he accumulated league-leading 4,304 minutes played and 40 wins. And get this, he earned a Vezina Trophy as the league's best goaltender and was runner-up to teammate Wayne Gretzky for the Hart Trophy as the NHL's entirely gifted and one and only most valuable player award. During the 83-84 season, Fjord, guys and gals, collected 14 points, which still stands as a single-season record for most points by a goaltender. On October 22nd, 99, he defeated the Florida Panthers to attain his 400th career win, only the 6th goalie in NHL history to reach that milestone. Fittingly, in his first year of eligibility, he was also selected to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2003. He holds the NHL record for most assists and points by a goaltender in regular season and playoff games combined. He holds the record for most longest undefeated streak by a goaltender in his first NHL season. He holds the record for most assists in a single season by a goaltender. He holds the record for most games played by a goaltender in a single season. Holds the record for most consecutive appearances in a single season by a goaltender. In 1998, he was ranked 70 on the Hockey News list of the 100 greatest hockey players of all time. His number 31 was retired by the Edmonton Oilers on October 9, 2003, and he was inducted into the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame in 2004. He was named one of the 100 greatest players ever in 2017, and along with Dominic Hasek, he won the William W. Jennings Trophy in 94. Wayne Gretzky has said on many occasions he believes he's the greatest goaltender in NHL history. He's also done extensive philanthropic work with the Arthritis Society of Canada, Lupus Canada, and the Celebs for Kids. In 2014, he became a published author when he released his memoir, The Story of a Hockey Legend. He's a president of his own foundation. So now's the time for me to invite this living legend to the virtual arena, and his name you will soon chant. So call your father, mother, sister, brother, uncle, and aunt. He will enchant as we rant and marvel at his excellence. Will you forget this night? You won't, you can't, you shan't. So put your hands together for one of the greatest of all time and a wonderful human being. Last name Fjord, first name Grant. Grant Fjord, welcome to the Celebrity Tournament, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Avi. I got to say, that's one of the better introductions I've ever had. I kind of like to steal that for our TV broadcast here.
No problem. There's no copyright on it, so it's all yours, my friend. But I'll tell you what, you put a copyright on class, man. Getting to know you as well, just like Mr. Bischoff and Mr. Miles Avery. It's been a real pleasure communicating with you these past few weeks. And I have to ask you the same thing. You're a competitor. Are you here to win the entire thing, my friend?
Well, you know what? If you play, you might as well win. I mean, I think that's the fun thing. That, and my wife likes Grease, so apparently I've got a little pressure to win as well.
I love it. I love it, guys and gals. And again, guys, thank you again. To the person listening right now in the studio. I know you guys didn't probably believe in this show about a year and a half ago. Now you do. Thank you. Enjoy the bandwagon. We're here to stay. Guys and gals, this is Grant Fjord. This is Miles Avery. This is Eric Bischoff. Let's give them a round of applause, even though we can't hear you there in the virtual arena. Guys and gals, the engine commenting, we know that you love seeing these guys. I'm going to pull up the comments so they can read them as well. But before we continue, guys and gals, with our very first topic, I do want to play a video from some of the participants in round number 2 already. Some of the luminaries. This is a video, guys and gals, from one of the favorites to win. He has a word to say for all the competitors.
Hey, this is Eddie Johnson. Second round of the TKN Celebrity Debate Tournament is close to happening. We got to finish the first round. This weekend, we got Hall of Famer Eric Bischoff. We got Hall of Famer Miles Avery. We have hockey great and Hall of Famer Grant Fjord. They're going to compete to try to move on to the second round. Yours truly is in the second round. We've had 115 Hall of Fame participants in this debate tournament, and it's been tremendous. From great actors, singers, people just in the field of everything entertainment. Unbelievable. Look forward to my podcast coming up as well, The Motivating Factor on TKN as well. So get ready for this weekend. Congratulations to everybody on a job well done as you continue to compete in the TKN Debate Tournament. Good luck. God bless. Look forward to hearing you this weekend.
Eddie Johnson, guys and gals, calling the Phoenix Suns game as we speak. That's our show, The Motivating Factor, coming up on the network, guys. And, of course, this is a surprise for Mr. Grant Fjord. One more video. I think this is someone that wants to say hello, guys and gals, to Mr. Grant Fjord.
There, Grant. It's the best man at your last wedding and fellow end-of-the-bar congregator, Jim McMahon. And I'm here to welcome you to the Celebrity Debate Tournament on TKN, the new network, where there's over 100 Hall of Famers from the world of sports, entertainment, Hollywood, and music, all vying for that coveted first prize, a trip to Greece. I know you're going to have your hands full tonight with a couple of Hall of Famers you're going against, and I want to just wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you'll make it to that second round. I somehow snuck in the second round along with Rick Barry, and him and I have some unfinished business. So I wish you the best of luck, my friend, and I hope to see you next month at your event in Palm Springs. All right, my man, good luck, and take care, buddy.
Our show, Gym Time, of course, 4 episodes already been recorded, guys. We're starting off with topic number 1. And again, guys, you'll be voting after each topic. Mr. Babcock will also let us know who resonated most with him. And remember, guys and gals, it's all about coming together, edutainment, competitive camaraderie. That's what it's all about. I love making sure that sometimes we may not know each other walking in, but walking out, new friendships are forged. That's what it's all about. So, guys, topic number 1. This is something I call finding a reason, because life circumstances bring us sometimes to a place of hopelessness. Sometimes we're at our best when we're at our worst. We may not know it. Family issues, injustice, health, relationship struggles, work, just feeling stuck in the grind can leave everyone at some point asking themselves, is it even worth it? We might even end up feeling like there's no clear reason for any of this. So when things go wrong, it's natural to react with deep, dark thoughts and feelings. But what motivates someone else might not work for you. And finding your own motivation can be more difficult than when you're feeling low. So my best advice for starting this process is to ask yourself, what would I do if no one were watching? If I could do anything and had none of the limitations that I currently do, what would I be doing with my time? Well, guys, we're here. At some point, we may not have thought that we would be, but I asked, at your lowest point, what kept you going? Miles, I'll kick it off to you first. At one point, when you struggled with purpose and meaning, whether it occurred during your adolescence, your adulthood, we've all felt as if life can get the best of us. Miles, can you please describe a moment in your life where something or someone in particular kept you going, my friend?
Certainly something so personal that could be something that impacted me, the death of my mom and that, and how my family certainly was there to pick me up, and certainly in adolescence as well, moving on then to college. And I chose a sport, gymnastics, that I really wasn't good at. I just walked on the team, but I certainly had a better opportunity as an athlete, as a football player, as a track athlete. But this thing, gymnastics, certainly got a hold of me. And, here I am one day in the gym and not thinking I was any good. And there were so many great freshmen on that squad where I was. And I was just so devastated that I wasn't going to make the squad. I wasn't going to be able to compete yet. I had some injuries, and I just said, this sport just let me down. And so ready to quit the sport. I didn't know how that was going to impact me academically with going to school, because I loved athletics, and without athletics, I was absolutely totally lost. But there are coaches in your life sometimes that do pick you up, and they're right. And I had one, his name was Chris, and he was the assistant coach at Temple University, and he certainly he picked me up and told me some things about myself that I didn't know what was there, and told me how good I was going to be, and how could this man see this in this young, 16, 17-year-old athlete, that, wow, you're going to be really good, and you need to, stop feeling sorry for yourself and get out there and get to work, because that's what you do best, is work. And he did that for me, and certainly, changed my life in terms of, I was a business major in college, and I certainly, I buckled down in terms of the academics, and I wanted to change my life and become a coach because of this man, because of Chris. And I wanted to then go on and see things and positively impact athletes in their life, and make them see things in their life that they don't know is there, and how good they could be. When I looked out at the team and how good my freshman squad was, and how bad I was, what he was saying, I'm saying, like, oh, this guy's blowing smoke. How could he tell me I'm going to be better than all of these other guys? And everything came to fruition. I certainly developed, and I worked hard, and that's what he said it was going to take. And I went on to do that. And I went on, obviously, to become a Hall of Fame coach and do all the things that I did. And I still remember that. And that came out of that tough, hard time that I was thinking about throwing in the towel in school and sports and everything else, that it let me down. But, you have to have people in your life that are there for you and can see you through it and help you know even about things about yourself that you aren't even aware. So, Chris is out there, thank you, Chris, because I'm here today, certainly because of you.
Giving back is what it's all about. I love what you did, Miles. There was something you mentioned a while ago where I read this, I think probably about maybe 6 or 7 days ago. Doing simple things, courtesy, right? Like if you see someone moving a mat, don't even ask if they need help. Just go and help them, right?
And I teach that to my young athletes now. Don't see someone moving a mat and ask them if they need help. Yeah, just go help them. If your mom is washing dishes, just start helping her put them away, put them in the dishwasher. And I want them to take those qualities home and just be good citizens at home, be good citizens and teammates in your athletic arena. Those are the things that I want to bring to kids, way more than just sports. And we teach so much more than just sports.
Well, I guess knowledge is proud that it knows so much, but wisdom is humble that it knows no more. Thank you so much for that, guys, for sharing your heart, Miles. We appreciate that so much. Again, all the comments over here. Guys and gals and pals, this is topic number 1. We have a couple more to go right after this. Right now, we're going to kick it over to Mr. Eric Bischoff. And Eric, I'll ask you the same thing. Whether it occurred during your adolescence or your adulthood, was there a point in your life where you felt like life was getting the best of you? And if so, can you please describe a moment in your life where something or someone in particular kept you going, my friend?
Yeah. First of all, Miles, that was inspiring, and I can't wait to follow up with you later. But I've really been blessed the majority of my life in the sense that, like anybody else, I've had ups and downs. I've had high points. I've had low points, but I've always been an entrepreneur. And I guess part of the reason I've been an entrepreneur is because I'm very comfortable taking risks. Sometimes over the course of my life, I've become too comfortable taking risks, but I was always able to outperform bad choices. Meaning that I would take big risks. It may not pay off, but I never lost hope. I kept that entrepreneurial spirit. I kept my drive, my ambition, whatever it was that kept me going. And no matter how bad I'd fall, I was always able to get up pretty quickly and dust it off like it never happened and just move on to the next project. And that's really the life of most entrepreneurs in one way, shape, or form. It's a mixed blessing, really. And I got through the majority of my life. I made millions, lost a couple million, made $1 million more, lost $1 million more, but overall did pretty well. And then I made some bad decisions. I wouldn't say a bad decision. I made a good decision during a bad time. I owned my own television production company, was doing extremely well with my business partner, had our production studios in Los Angeles, and we were producing non-scripted or reality television for just about every cable network out there and a couple of the big networks as well, including NBC. Making money hand over fist, everything was great. And then a couple things happened all simultaneously. The television industry kind of turned it upside down, mostly because of streaming and internet advertising and things like that. Long story short, the business took a real hit. And my partner and I both decided, we saw the handwriting on the wall, that it was just time to shut it down and move on. And we did. And I went from making a substantial amount of money to making hardly any at all. But I kept I kept that positive attitude, and I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying. But unlike previously in my life, reinventing myself and coming up with that next big idea was really difficult. And before I knew it, I was facing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And at 62 years old, that was devastating for me. For the first time in my life, I lost hope. And that's something that never happened to me before. I never lost hope. And like I said, at 62 years old, kind of looking around and going, wait a minute. My clock has been ticking. It's getting kind of late in the game to start over again, especially after everything that I had built and been through and stood to lose, by the way, including the beautiful home that I live in now in Cody, Wyoming. And in that process of losing hope, my wife, who I've been married to now for over 40 years, who is the patience of a saint, she knew me well enough to give me room to let me get through it. But all the while, she kept trying to convince me to learn how to be grateful. Intellectually, I was grateful. I knew, I should say, that I should be grateful for so many great, I had 2 wonderful, healthy, happy kids, a new grandson, although he wasn't born then. But there were a lot of things in my life, including an amazing relationship with my wife, that I had to be grateful for. But I never allowed myself to see it. I understood that I should, but I really didn't. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I was at a Comic-Con. I was hosting a panel. I was up there with Hulk Hogan and Sting, another famous wrestling personality, and I was the moderator. And at the end of the panel, we did a Q&A. And a young lady in the back, her name is Amanda, stood up. It was towards the end of the panel. And she told me this story about how her and her father, the only real time they had together was on Monday nights. And she was an only child. And she would watch my show, Monday Nitro, every Monday night with her father. And that was their father-daughter time. That was the only time she had with her father. He was an over-the-road trucker. He worked really hard. Her mother had issues at the time. She was an alcoholic. So it was slightly dysfunctional. But as Amanda told me the story, every time I tell the story, I start to cry. For the first time in my career, I realized that while I was chasing the buck, chasing the, as much fame as I'm going to get in professional wrestling, I should say, but chasing success, chasing the dollar, chasing the title, chasing whatever it is I was chasing. It was the first time in my life that what I was doing for a living actually impacted people in a positive way. Whether it was just Amanda having that father-daughter time, and I've heard a million of stories like that ever since. And that changed the way I looked at where I was at in that moment. Instead of feeling sorry for myself and losing hope, just everything my wife had been telling me now for years about learning how to become grateful just hit me like a truck. And it just changed everything for me. And in my Chapter 11, I filed it in 2017. The judge gave me 5 years because, Chapter 11, you've got to pay everything back. It's not like you walk away from your debts, right? And I had a mountain of debt. I wasn't sure when I was 62, when I filed for Chapter 11, how I was ever going to find a way out because my career was over. My value, based on what I had been doing for the last 40 years, was pretty much diminished. Life had moved on without me. But learning how to be grateful changed everything for me. And rather than taking 5 years to pay off that Chapter 11, I did it in 2. And we got back on our feet again, substantially in a financial way. And I really owe it to that young lady, Amanda, who's become a family friend now, by the way. But she taught me how to be grateful for something that was right under my nose. And that changed everything for me.
That's incredible. And how many years ago was this, Mr. Bischoff?
Well, she, and by the way, I didn't really finish the story. She reached out to me eventually. This is an important part of the story. And she told me her story again. And this was about 2019. She told me her story again about her and her dad, but she also said, by the way, I'm getting married. My father passed away. She's an only child. Her mother had passed away. She didn't have any family. And she asked me to walk her down the aisle. That's the part that changed. And that was like 2018, 2019, I think.
Is it the case for all three of you, before I kick it over to Mr. Grant Fior, is it the case for all three of you to sometimes be amazed by the impact that you've left merely through a sport that you excelled in or a business that thrived? Looking back, does that surprise you after the fact, post-retirement?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, and I still do these appearances. I used to hate doing these appearances.
Sure.
And I'm not going to lie. I did them because I had to. There was a certain period of my life where financially, I had to go do these meet and greets and sign it, autograph signings at conventions. And I just dreaded it. I was angry that I allowed myself to be in that position.
Sure.
But I go to these things now and I hear these same types of stories over and over and over again. How, fathers and daughters and sons and cousins and brothers and grandparents all gather around the television, and that was their kind of thing together. Every single time I go out now, I solicit those stories. I ask people, how did wrestling bring you together? I know it sounds crazy, right? It's wrestling. It's big guys in tights beating each other up with chairs. It shouldn't really matter that much, but it does. It can. Anything that brings people together, whether it's sport, entertainment, church, synagogue, whatever it is, I think whatever you can do to bring people together is a contribution.
I think it's so amazing that sometimes strangers we've never even met in real life can sometimes remind us not of the impact that we had, because I guess that's tied to ego, but it reminds us of the humanity of what we do, because it is very humane to be in a locker room and do something like Grant did for a certain cause, to work together as a team, or as Miles to coach the youth of the world, or as Eric, who is extremely resilient. Based on your story, Eric, again, you did not abandon your love to peril. You allowed your gleam to be fanned into a roaring fire because you were passionate about what you did, and you said the heck with the detractors. And I think that's more inspirational than anything else. I think that's an energy we give off sometimes. I talked about last week about the Stephen Douglas, Abraham Lincoln debate. They had 7 of them that were, of course, very infamous. And Stephen Douglas talked about gratitude, Eric, in one of his speeches. He said, gratitude makes sense of our past. It brings peace for today and it creates a vision for tomorrow. Do you concur?
I do. And not to get too spiritual here, but it's a big part of the process for me, is that first step for me in getting closer to my faith was practicing being grateful. And I got to the point where I would get up every morning. I live out in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. I can look off my deck and look up into Yellowstone National Park. It's what I've worked my whole life for, to live in an environment like this. But I get up in the morning and I go out with my dog and my cup of coffee and start making a list of the little things, not the big things, not the obvious things.
Sure.
But I start paying attention to the little things. And it allows me to get closer to my faith. And I couldn't do it. I don't think I could do it without first learning how to be grateful and disciplining myself. As both Grant and Miles know, in sport, discipline is everything in sport. And for me, it has been for my faith as well, but it all started with learning how to be grateful.
Sure. I agree with you 100%. I learned again in the screenwriting world that greed is not a financial issue. It's a heart issue. A lot of people I worked with were interested in just taking a first draft, selling it right off the bat, knowing that they probably have maybe a second or third writing credit. But when I started working for Carl Reiner and writing soliloquies and monologues for this man, I remember the first advice he gave me was, he says, if you're going to write something, write it with passion, as if it is your baby, as if you are nurturing it. And that's what characters are in screenplays. They need our help. They need the actors' help, because those characters are infants and toddlers, and the actor has to be in the driver's seat. So when he gives me all this advice, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but he's there. I'm way over here. How could that change? And then I realized if I surrender myself to my passion, it'll be a fun journey anyway. Even if I don't make it, it'll be fun doing what I love. Like, there's nothing greater than that. And I think your story, Eric, and Miles epitomizes that, because you guys, Miles, you could have picked a sport that was much more celebrated or world-renowned, but you went after something you really loved. Not many people could do that. So I think your stories definitely resonate with the masses. And based on the comment section, I think it's resonating quite a great deal tonight. Guys, Mr. Grant Fuhr is up next for topic number 1. It is the same question, Mr. Fuhr. At what point in your life, when you struggled with purpose and meaning, whether it occurred during your adolescence or adulthood, could you describe a moment in your life where something or someone in particular kept you going, my good friend?
Well, I could probably go through 2 or 3. I mean, obviously, as a young kid, school was not high on my priority list. So I kind of decided that I'd learn the hard way. And I had a vice principal who kind of sat me down one day and tried to point out that sports wasn't everything, but if it was what I believed in, that's a path I had to go down. And for me, I kept that thought in my head the whole time, but at the same time, it wasn't everything. Once I turned professional, things were the top of the world, all that good stuff. And then my father passed. And when that happened, I went down another road where, with a little bit of addiction and such, we had to have another heart-to-heart conversation, and decided one day, talking to some friends, a good friend of mine, Barry Rimmer, we sat down and talked for a little bit, and I talked to Glenn Sather, and we decided that I made a trip to Betty Ford, which probably one of the best things that happened in my life, where I got a chance to look at myself and appreciate everything I had done, everything I'd gone through, and everything my parents were proud of. And that was the biggest thing. And that was the hardest thing, is to look at yourself and realize that you had to find something that you loved. And I'd forgotten to love myself. The game of hockey is easy to love. I love that without anything. But I missed the part about you have to love yourself. And sitting down with Glenn, and to this day, I still sit down with him once in a while, and we'll sit and chat. And it was a huge part of my life I had to find a love for myself. And that's what turned everything around for me, and made me realize that, you know what? It's a reason for me to give back. Now that I've found the comfort in my own skin, 20 years ago, if you'd have thought that I was going to do this, there's not a chance. And if I sat down for a media interview, it was yes, no, the media hated me for that. But now we've kind of gone to the dark side and become a media person, which is even scarier. But at the same time, being comfortable with myself allows me to give back. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And it's also the hardest thing, was to look at myself and figure out, okay, you've got to make changes. You've got to do something different, but you have to like yourself before you can like anything else. And for me, that was probably the hardest part.
You mentioned a lot that you were able to get from your father, because he had the same affinity for sports and for hockey, of course, that you did, Father Robert. I found it interesting when, even as he was getting a bit older, Grant, actually I think it was 5 years before he died, he took you golfing for the first time. And it was kind of humbling to think that you're a good athlete, and then you go out and have your father beat your socks off. But I mentioned this because you were able to gain so much respect, because I know that growing up, I'm not going to say you were shielded or masked from some of the bigotry that had occurred for some earlier hockey players, of course, but you were loved so very much by your parents. And that's something you took with you as a parent yourself.
Oh, and I still do. I mean, I think that's one of the greatest things in life. I mean, I was adopted when I was 17 days old.
Sure.
And to get a second chance like that, there's nothing better. But at the same time, I didn't appreciate being whooped on the golf course. So we found a way to get better at that in a hurry. And it's something that when you find somebody that's better than you, you'd like to be on their level and you learn from them. And I try and do that with everybody that I talk to. And I'm still fortunate enough, I spend a lot of time with fans and such, that you're always trying to learn. And the greatest thing that I've passed along to my kids is you never stop learning. And I, to this day, still try and learn something new every day. And it's kind of a goal, is to learn something new every day.
And guys and gals, we're learning a lot here. Please thank Mr. Eric Bischoff, Mr. Grant Fiore, and Miles Avery for giving us their time here on the TCAN Celebrity Tournament, where, again, honest and thoughtful conversations happen. The backdrop might be the tournament, but friendships blossom here in the virtual arena. Who says we can't do that with a microphone and headphones? We can definitely do it. Guys and gals, before we delve into and by the way, Grant, I thought it was very it was a story that resonated with me, and I'm not going to get personal, but like, you were at a bar and a man walked up to you and said, "Hey, you're one hell of a goaltender." And you looked at the man's face and you could tell that it was your dad. You had asked if long ago he had a son who gave you up for adoption. And it was yes, because he had been 16 when you were born and your natural mother was 13. So, it was a moment not of bitterness. It was a moment of understanding on your part, right?
You know what? It's something you have to understand. And I've done some stuff with different adoption agencies just because to get kids that second opportunity. I mean, that's the one thing you've got the pro-life and all that going on right now, but it's the second opportunities that kids get. And a lot of kids don't get that opportunity. So I'm a big advocate for that. And there's a lot of things that I'd still like to do with that, because you want to see kids get that opportunity.
There's no doubt about that. Guys and gals, we're going to vote now for the end of topic number 1. But I'm going to put Grant, Mr. Eric Bischoff, and Mr. Miles Avery backstage for a quick, brief moment, guys and gals, for 1 moment. We do have our second celebrity judge who's in the arena. There he is backstage. Guys and gals, I want to bring him in right now. My friend, I see you back there. If you want to unmute your microphone, there we go. Guys and gals and pals. A person who listens that shall not condemn. He is someone who on you can depend. He will not flee when bad times are here. Instead, he will be there to lend an ear. He will think of ways to make you smile so you can be happy for a while. When times are good and happy thereafter, he will be there to share the laughter. Don't forget your friends at all, for they pick you up when you fall. And don't expect just to take a hold. Give friendship back its pure gold. His courage is consistent. You can rely on it like a Michael Jordan free throw. Helping kids who've been bullied is his canvas more beautiful than any Van Gogh. He is the second round of the starts of the tournament where he will be sure to bring the gusto. All of you watching always bring his name up, and rightly so. He's a friend that I appreciate fully, as his class is something we always see him bestow. He's sincere and genuine and can make you laugh like a mid-90s Ray Romano. They know his name around the world, from Glasgow to Monaco to Kosovo to Moscow. Even in the winter time, his smile can melt the snow. So why don't you all grab a gyro and a glass of Merlot? May not be a good combo, but regardless, I can tell you that you're all feeling quite gun-ho, as his impact is quite the presence, like Arnold kicking butt in Commando. Who am I bringing in? The mystery will be history. In a second, you'll know. You all might have figured it out. This isn't a whodunit like Hitchcock's Vertigo, so get up and enjoy this ride. Like a Texan in a rodeo. Have you put the pieces together and figured it out like a common game of dominoes? If you're feeling froggy, step up and face him, as his knowledge will make you foggy. His relentless poetic rhyme never ceases, like infinity. He tells kids say no to drugs, no need to pass the Dutchie. His heart eases you mentally, gently, sentimentally, instrumentally, with entity. So let me bring out my dear friend and brother, a man who speaks positivity. And he is always something, guys and gals, a human being that is going to embark with his strength like Iron Man in class, like Tony Stark. Put your hands together for a wonderful, real, sincere human being. Last name Henry, first name Mark. Mark Henry, welcome again, my friend.
My brother, listen, let's call Guinness and get that out of the way. Because, sir, you just broke the world record for the most rhymes with O.
Oh, yes. Oh, I like the letter. I love the letter O. But, you know, every time people see you, they go, oh, because they see that smile and they go, you know what? I forgot my problems. I forgot what issues I had because you light it up. I always tell you that off camera as well. For 3 years, my friend, for 3 years, our friendship has blossomed. I need to tell you this. Those rhymes, it's not about pomp and circumstance, man. You are a quality human being, and I'm so glad to call you a brother and a friend. You made me tear last time, so I won't forgive you for that. But Mark Henry, my friend, here you are Saturday night. Mr. Eric Bischoff, Mr. Grant Fuhr, Mr. Miles Avery. We've got quite the panel, don't we?
What an unbelievable and distinguished set of men that you chose. I'm just sitting back listening, and everybody has this great and fundamental awareness that is only given when you're humble. They've all been humble, just like you and I have. We respect the things that when we were young, we didn't respect it. We just, you know, it's what it's supposed to be. So, like I told you that this show should be on mainstream television because it's the only show that I've ever been a part of that I feel like is actually solving the world's problems through the fact that you have people that are experts. You have people that's beyond what an expert is. I'm sure that Grant has skated 50,000, 100,000 hours.
Sure.
You understand? And Eric has probably done 100,000 hours of meetings to help structure the business that he helped further along. And I talk to a very good friend of Eric's all the time. I mean, at least once or twice a week.
Right.
And he said, man, you know, I would never be involved in wrestling if it wasn't for Eric Bischoff. And that's Ernest the Cat Miller. He said, man, I was his son karate teacher. And he said, man, you talk so much. He was like, you should try to get into wrestling. You should try it. And now we have Ernest Miller, who hundreds of thousands, if millions of fans know who he is.
Absolutely.
And that would not have happened without Eric Bischoff. So I wanted to give Eric his flowers for the sake of our business. His knowledge of the Force, if you will, is strong, Skywalker.
I could tell. I could totally tell. And you're right. A man who practices the attitude of gratitude. There's no doubt. And so do you, my friend. That's a language we speak. I'm going to put you backstage momentarily.
Yeah, man. I'm listening.
The great Mark Henry, guys and gals. He is backstage, guys. Again, this is the green room. One of the odds-on favorites to win this tournament is Mr. Mark Henry. Guys, I want to bring in, again, Miles Avery. I want to bring in Grant Fuhr and Mr. Eric Bischoff on screen as well. And right now, I'm going to bring up Mr. Pete Babcock, a dear friend, a historian, and so much more. Mr. Pete Babcock, thank you again for your time. This was mighty tough, wasn't it?
Avi, well, first of all, this wasn't a debate.
No.
This was three individuals sharing heartfelt parts of their lives, opening up things that they've gone through. So I didn't even listen to it as from a debate standpoint.
Sure.
And I learned so much from each one of them. Grant learning how to love yourself and how important that is to move forward in your life. And I fortunately have never had to deal with recovery, but I've worked with a lot of players over the years who have gone through the process, and I know with working with them day after day how difficult it is to have success in something like that. So Grant, your story was phenomenal. I mean, just all three people's stories were amazing. Miles, I really identified with your struggles from coaching and working your way up, and because I went through the coaching ranks and worked my way up, and how you had to learn to maximize your potential by outworking other people, and that's something I always looked at myself as an overachiever in life, and I think, and not that you're an overachiever, you're a great athlete. I was never a great athlete, but the fact that you learn how to outwork people, and Eric, your story was just remarkable. Having to, recovering from your mistakes, and then what touched me too was you reinventing yourself later in life. That's such a difficult thing for any of us to do. And then when you finally realized the importance of being grateful and how that message got to you, again, to me, this wasn't a debate at all. It's three amazing stories, and if I have to pick somebody, I give like 1A, 1B, 1C. I mean, it's like I can't really. I guess I can't do a tie, right?
No, but then says the man who's not voting in me. So yeah.
Well, if I have to pick somebody, I guess on this particular one, I pick Eric. But all three just blew me away. I mean, and again, to me, it wasn't even a debate. To me, it was just learning about the introspection into your lives is just phenomenal.
And as you know, based on our conversations, Pete, that's the mission. What we're doing here, these living room conversations, hopefully can bring three luminaries together that maybe never met one another and heard about one another, but then to be able to realize that we're so closer than one might surmise. It's not to get all preachy or just be able to speak my thoughts, and feelings are very, very spontaneous. So I try to gather my thoughts and collect my thoughts every time I speak. But we all know that the mass media would try to divide us, right? We know that the mass media today wants to see divisiveness, especially in 2024. So that's really what the show has become. It's become the anti-establishment, because I guess the anti-establishment are 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 luminaries getting together and getting to know about each other and not going for the jugular and not trying to out-scream each other. I love being able to learn more about everybody here, and I love the fact that our audience allows us to be in their virtual living room. So you're right, it is very tough, and that's why my hair is still it would not be in place if I were voting. I'd be a wild man. My hair doesn't look good unless it's combed back, but I'm not voting either. So guys, remember, when you're voting for somebody, you're letting them know that they resonated with you. And isn't that pretty cool? Isn't that cool to say, hey, your story really stuck. It identified with me. So let's keep it positive as always. We always do that. That's why we always talk about edutainment being something we preach. Thank you so much for your vote, Mr. Pete Babcock. I'll bring you right back after topic number 2.
Yes.
Absolutely, guys. Again, let's count your votes. Let's bring in Mr. Mark Henry. Mark, I believe you came in here during topic number 1, my friend?
Yes, I did. And I'm going to go through it real quickly. Mr. Avery, me and Ivy talk about this pretty often. And I tell this story about Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather trains like he didn't have talent. And Floyd and I in the same category. God blessed us both with overabundance of talent. I mean, being a 400-pound guy that can run a 5.2 40, have a 33-inch vertical, lift 1,000 pounds in one lift, and do things that no other humans have been able to touch, makes me in rarefied air. Floyd is exactly the same, but the difference between me and Floyd and everybody else is that we trained like God didn't give us anything. And when you started talking about how you had to outwork people, out-hustle people, out-study people, overthink to the point to where you doubt yourself, it touched me because it's a sickness. We don't want to admit it, but the people that have to work that, I cry when I lose. I'm a horrible coach because I expect people to want it like I want it, and they don't.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Bird, horrible coach. Jordan, horrible coach. Magic Johnson, horrible coach. Their records say it. I'm not saying that. I love Irvin Johnson more than a lot of people in my family. But the one thing that all of those people had is competitive fire. Outwork everyone. Don't leave nothing in the gym. Don't leave nothing on the film review. And when you spoke like that, it just touched me because I know who you are and I never met you. And I love Eric, and his story made me cry. And I work with a lot of gentlemen that have had substance abuse issues, and I've tried to be a good friend for them, a good support system. Grant touched me too. I know who he is, but he's here. But I have to side with you, Mr. Avery, because that's where not only did it touch me the most, but I identify with it.
Thank you.
I think there's common ground here too, because I can say this as we're about to sneak into topic number 2 momentarily, but I think the one thing that brings us together is the fact that even when I think about yesteryear, I remember when I was so immature and I thought that I needed 5 years to grow up enough to say that making a living at what I do is my responsibility. Like, it's not someone else's job to provide me with my dream. It's my dream. I have to provide that. I have to cultivate that. And hearing Eric Bischoff and Miles Avery and Grant Fuhrer talking about how they were able to do that on their own, that speaks of something that's maybe missing in 2024, and it's a word called accountability. Not a word I like to rhyme, by the way. It's a difficult word to rhyme, but they all have it, and they all definitely are espousing it. I appreciate that. Mr. Mark Henry, I'll bring you right back after topic number 1, good sir. Topic number 2. Great Mark Henry, guys and gals. Topic number 2. This is going to be a bit fun. It's about history. And during the Gilded Age, there was a time of sweeping change. Small producers, guys, industrial economies, large cities. From about 1870 to 1900, the U.S. transformed from a society of farmers and small producers to an industrial economy based in large cities. And in those decades, there was an explosion of innovation in the fields of engineering, chemistry, technology. It brought us some of the modern world's most groundbreaking inventions. But what about the inventions of today? If we could take one invention idea or concept from the 20th or 21st century with us back in time before the 20th century, what would it be and why? Guys and gals and pals who are watching and commenting, the engine that makes this thing go, as you know, this is topic 2. Mr. Eric Bischoff, if you could take one invention, idea, or concept from the 20th or 21st century with you back in time before the 20th century, what would it be and why, good sir?
Babbel, the online learning, education learning system. Now, I know you'd have to invent a computer before you could bring back Babbel, and it gets complicated, right? But I mentioned earlier I grew up in Detroit. I was born in 55 and lived in Detroit through the 60s. I was there for the riots. I lived right on 10 Mile and Gratiot, which was considered East Detroit. They changed the name to East Point because Detroit's getting a bad rap. But I lived in Detroit during a racially tense time. Not that today isn't, or perhaps it hasn't never been, to one degree or another, intense time. But I was there as a young boy and saw racism firsthand, and not just because of the riots, but I lived in a part of town because the automotive industry was still a big thing in the 50s and the 60s. And we lived in a very lower middle class area where a lot of factory workers and people that worked on assembly line and things like that worked. And there were people, there was the Italian part of our neighborhood, and there was the Polish part of our neighborhood, and there was the black part of our neighborhood, and the German, side of the neighborhood. It was very, very segregated, I guess. But everybody got along. It was different. And I had friends whose parents didn't speak English. They came over from Italy. And they'd have gardens in their backyard. And I'm talking about small yards, probably the sizes of a lot of people's garages today. Small, tiny yards, but each Italian family, one family would grow tomatoes, the next one would grow beans, the next one would grow something else. And then in the fall, in the late summer and the fall, when everything was ready to harvest, everybody would get together and all the neighborhood would come together, and every one of the families would be cooking something. And you just walk around the neighborhood and experience that, which was phenomenal. It's a hell of a way to grow up. But one of the things I didn't know it as a kid, it's just the way I grew up, is that when you just get past your differences and don't let your differences immediately create fear, because I think fear is based in ignorance. I think racism is based in ignorance. People's challenge in getting along with other groups most of the time comes from ignorance. And when I say ignorance, I mean in the definition of the term, lack of knowledge or information. When you don't have knowledge or information about somebody, you don't understand their culture because you can't understand their language, you immediately shy away from that. And you become fearful of it because you don't understand it. It's the way our brains are wired. Our brains have been wired from an evolutionary point of view to recognize danger and fear, and anything that you don't recognize, you're not comfortable with, is fear. Your brains were wired that way to keep you from walking into a den of lions, right? If you're walking through the bush and you see a fruit tree and you see a lion, you're going to go back to the fruit tree later because the lion's going to eat you. It's evolutionary. That's the way your brains are wired. And unfortunately, that happens with people. The minute you don't understand somebody, you just don't relate to their culture. You don't relate to their music. You don't relate to their food. You don't really blah, 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 blah. And most of it is just ignorance that turns into fear, that turns into bad behavior. And I think when you learn someone's language, the process of learning a language makes you interested in their culture, because language is a reflection of culture in many ways. You're learning about their food. You're learning about their cultures, their societal cultures, and their history. And when you start learning about another culture, all of a sudden you start respecting it and appreciating it a different way. And I think if people would spend more time learning each other's language, it would be kind of a door opener to begin to understand their culture. And once you understand someone's culture and their background and their history, and you've walked in their shoes, it's a lot easier to become comfortable, and you become less fearful and do less stupid shit.
Amen to that. Yes, absolutely. Learning each other's language. I love that. Literally and figuratively speaking, it's probably something we need right now Yeah, and I love how Eric brought up the fact that despite the fact that there might have been diversity where you grew up in Detroit, a lot of times the media doesn't really pick up on the fact that there are a sect group of people, majority of us here in the U.S., who do respect each other despite our cultural differences. That is not something that's, I think it's prevalent. I think we just focus on some of the separation that exists in communities. And when we see that on television, we must fear our neighbor because maybe they think the same way about us as those guys on television that are quarreling with each other. So that's a really good point. And when you bring up Detroit, God almighty, I think of, and Eric, I want to ask you this because you must have been 8 or 9 years old, but I think of a tale of two sides of the city because there was a lot of great that happened in the early 60s. How about the fact that the Walk for Freedom, and guys, I want to pull this up for a moment. This is a great screenshot of one of the most amazing marches that took place during the Civil Rights Movement. This happened in 1963. This was in Detroit. And of course, no one's going to talk about that. They're going to talk about the riots from 63, 67, 43. But Eric, based on what you brought up, you guys were kids, and kids are kids. And sometimes kids don't see color. And maybe sometimes kids that grow into adults don't as well. Would you agree that perhaps the media might give us a narrative that is not exactly fully accurate based on racial tension?
No, well, the media understands that your brain is wired. You're going to pay more attention to things that scare you than you are to things that make you feel good. That's just a fact of life. And the media knows that. They create I did a TEDx talk a while back, and I talked about the media and how media is really more like professional wrestling than professional wrestling. The news media is not there to inform you, to give you both sides of a debate or both sides of an issue. They're there to make you feel one way or the other. They don't want you to think because then they may not have any influence over you.
Right, sure.
But if they can make you feel, particularly if they can make you feel fearful, it's a mouthful, they'll get you coming back for more. You're going to want to know what's next, who's out to get you next. It's hard because I love to stay on top of current events, but it's really, really difficult unless I, for myself, remind myself throughout an entire news broadcast that they're not trying to inform me, they're trying to make me feel. And I look at news, no matter where I get it, doesn't matter, because I try to consume a lot of different forms of news.
And that's not always easy, Eric, to take that in. That's always not always easy.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But I just keep remembering they're not here to give me any information. They're here to make me feel a certain way. You got to be really careful.
It's a great way of putting it. I remember in 65, LBJ calls up Uncle Walter Cronkite, and he says, "You're killing me over here," because journalistic integrity, he thought, was no longer something that was commonplace. That was probably the first time, the dividing line where journalists, whether you agree with the issue or not, and I'm not saying whether or not I do or don't, but that was the first time where journalists gave their opinions. Prior to that, it was honest reporting, whether you liked it or not, very straightforward reporting. And maybe that's why there was a bit of a backlash, because all of a sudden there was no leadership, right? We go from Kennedy being assassinated in 63. We know that LBJ didn't want to run at the last minute in 68. Then we go from Nixon and Watergate in 68 to 72. Then we have a guy who's a placeholder, Gerald Ford, had a lot of good ideologies, just to get a chance to really kind of flesh them out. And then, of course, Jimmy Carter, enter the peanut farmer from Georgia, who we can relate to. At the right time in 1976, Miles, when you graduated high school with some of those accolades. In 76, Jimmy Carter now is elected, and we can relate to our president. Hey, he's one of us, but he only lasts 4 years. It's insane. When you think about our governmental structure from the early days, the dividing line, I always say, was 1963. A lot of people thought that Kennedy was going to pull our soldiers out of Vietnam. Bit of a fallacy. Of course, we know he didn't trust his government, and he went against them because the Bay of Pigs fiasco happened. But God almighty, if this guy actually did pull out our troops and agreed to just train the South and train the Arvid and not actually go in there and fight, it would have been a different America. So I love that you brought this up, because we'd have also a different America in a different country and a different world if we all spoke the same language. I love that. Guys and gals, let me segue out of here really quickly, organically or otherwise, to Mr. Grant Fiore. Grant, if you could take one invention, idea, or concept from the 20th or 21st century with you back in time before the 20th century, what would it be and why, good sir?
You know what? I would take the internet back, because wealth, your knowledge is your wealth. And the more you can learn, the better off you are. So I make a point of reading every night. I read the news in Canada. I read the news in the States, because you want different opinions. You want the wealth of knowledge. And with the internet, it just allows you to get that wealth of knowledge where you're not sitting watching a newscast. You're not stuck with somebody else's opinion. You can find your own research. You can find your own opinions. And it just allows you to learn on your own, and you can grow from that.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, again, guys and gals, think about this on your own. What would you take with you back and why? Sometimes it's something simplistic. It's under our nose. Maybe our forefathers could have benefited from it back in the day. Mr. Miles Avery, if you could take one invention, idea, or concept from the 20th or 21st century with you back in time before the 20th century, what would it be and why, good sir?
Well, certainly I'd like to, Eric, in terms of that language and communication, two of the most amazing people I met in my life has been people who can speak so many languages, because the number of people that they can communicate with, to me, is just amazing, that the messages that they can give to so many people. And yeah, Babel would have been awesome, but certainly Grant, in terms of knowledge, and what I would have what I would take back is video replay, video cameras, and certainly personally, to sometimes in the Black family, you just don't know. I would love to hear from my great grandfather, or I would love to just hear and see some of the things about my family personally. Historically, what other way to know what happened than to see it and to know what is going on. And I think in terms of history, that is, we don't have that. We don't have that videography that we should have or could have if we had video cameras back there telling us the story of history. So I think that that would be an amazing look back at what happened, and not just be told what was happening. You can see it for yourself.
I love that. Absolutely. Being able to see it for yourself, to document it for yourself, and then, of course, to tell that story later on. Guys and gals and pals, if you're voting, which I've seen some of your votes already, of course, we're not going to count all of them. There's a lot of you watching. We appreciate that. Please make sure that you give us all 3 of your votes after the 3rd topic. So we move this thing along. Make sure you give us all 3 of your votes for topic 1, 2, and 3, which is upcoming, after the 3rd topic in the comment section. I want to bring in Mr. Pete Babcock right now. And Pete, again, you are a fellow historian, my friend. Your thoughts?
Well, all again, great thoughts on going back. With Eric, I found it interesting. I think Babel, it caught my attention right away, because I tried Babel for a while and then was not bright enough to be able to keep up with it. Having failed, I wanted to learn Spanish, later in life. I failed Spanish in college, my freshman year in college. So I've always struggled. I've had a mental block with languages. So I tried Babel a few years ago, and then when I got to a point where it got more complicated, I thought, okay, I don't really need to know this right now. So I didn't pursue it like I should have. But I agree with you 100% on ignorance and fear being the driving force for discrimination and prejudice and racism, not only in our country, but in the world. And I have a saying that I use on all my cards. It says, respect others for their differences rather than discriminate due to those differences. And knowing different languages, I had a chance to be with number of players who were international players, and one in particular who spoke at least 6 languages, and that was Dikembe Mutombo. And we became very close friends, and I learned so much from him and the doors that he opened. And I went to Africa with him, and was able to see the culture up close and personal, and so much of it stemmed from the language. And I agree also, Erica, what you said about the media really seeming to want to play on our fears and not really publish positive stories. When I was with the Atlanta Hawks, I remember going to some of our 2 of our beat writers with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I said, listen, you always write about, something negative happens, or there's a column in the paper every day critiquing the announcers in games, and and making negative comments about it. I said, why don't you I said, that's meaningless, really. Take that column and not just the Hawks, but take the Falcons and the Braves and the Hawks and send them out in a human interest kind of thing and print something positive. I said, so like we're going to a school today and we're going to work with kids that are at-risk kids, and we call it a success seminar, and share stories with them. I said, come with us to school. They never would. They weren't interested in it. It just wasn't a story that they thought was really important. So I like that idea of the language. Grant, the internet would be phenomenal if you could go back and it's provided so much information. Sometimes maybe it's overwhelming the amount of information that's out there because there's a lot of misinformation too. But if you can sort through all that and be able to learn from it, it's a great tool. I use it every single day. The one that hit me the most really was with you, Coach Avery, in that it just all of a sudden that got my attention. Like if I could go back and look at video of my ancestors and listen to their stories, and because so many times I live in Newport, Rhode Island right now. That's where I retired to, and all my family going back to the 1600s was in this area. And I oftentimes, as I'm driving around, I'm thinking about what was it like for them, or what. But so that really got my attention. Like, wow, that would be spectacular if you could have that kind of footage that you could relate to and hear their stories and what life was like, So on this particular one, I think I'd go with Miles.
Miles, let's get your vote. Thank you, Giselle, for tallying in the back as well. Miles Avery. Pete, who would have won in a Twitter war back then, huh? Genghis Khan or Napoleon? I got Napoleon.
Hey, now I'll be on one point though with JFK. Most of the documents that have come out recently, that not many, there's still like 5,000 documents that haven't been released on the assassination, but the most of them have come out the last 18 months will verify the fact that JFK had wanted, he gave orders to pull 1,000 advisors out of Vietnam by Christmas, which he didn't live to see.
No.
And he was working behind the scenes with Khrushchev, of all people, to try to de-escalate the Cold War.
Well, it was because of Khrushchev and Kennedy that we didn't have World War III in October.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so he was doing all this. Then that all revert after the assassination, that all flip-flopped and went the other direction.
It did, but the majority of the troops were going to be pulled out in '64 because he wanted to make sure he could run on that ticket. So think about that.
Right.
He's holding human lives till November of '64 when he can get reelected and be a shoo-in. But you're right. He was not committed to us actually, just with the exception of training the ARVN. We weren't going to actually fight for them. You're right. But why would he wait till November of '64?
Well, the Pentagon Papers, if you read those, it talks about how a lot of influential congressmen had invested millions of dollars in a long-term war effort when we were being told it's a short-term deal.
Sure.
And it scared the daylights out of them when Kennedy started making noises that we're not staying. It's not a winning situation. We're going to pull out. We're not going to be there. And as soon as he set that stage, these people had put all their money into napalm and bombs and the military-industrial complex. They had a lot to lose.
And he was warned by Eisenhower. He told him about that.
Yeah, Eisenhower definitely told him.
Did.
Be afraid of the military-industrial complex. That's coming from a general.
Wow.
Right?
Oh my! I mean, that's incredible.
Anyway, we're getting off topic, but
no. I appreciate.
It's a good topic, though. I like the topic.
I got to say though that really quickly again, when you bring this up, it is fascinating, and there's so many documents. Watch to all of our viewers as well. Watch The Fog of War, little known documentary. Robert McNamara on his deathbed admitted to some of the mistakes that he made. Really fascinating documentary. Fog of War. I think it came out in 2003. Give it a watch. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Babcock. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah.
One more topic to go. Mr. Mark Henry.
Guys, I think that combined, you move us up in the evolutionary ladder by about 80 to 90 years if all three of those things go back in time.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to have to go again. I think me and Mr. Avery were separated at birth. Because even today, right now today, there's been so many cases in law enforcement and in other, just civil crimes where the cases have been overturned because of video footage, because of the camera phone. Imagine the lies that were told that would be debunked because there was footage. If you go back, it's one of the camera phone, I say, is the most valuable piece to protecting people of color in America than the law is. Because, I remember my grandmother's, even talking about Emmett Till and, the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that were affected well before that. And the millions of people that were affected even before that. So, you get the camera, sometimes seeing pictures and video footage of what happened, it changes the dynamic in the decision that you make based on he said, she said.
Yeah.
So
what's into that?
I would go with the camera phone. I would go with video footage.
Video footage, guys and gals. Mr. Miles Avery. Mr. Mark Henry, thank you for your thoughts, my friend.
You're very welcome.
Great, Mark Henry, guys. One more topic to go for Mr. Henry, Mr. Babcock, and all of you guys and gals and pals. And remember, much more show to go right after this as we bid Miles Avery, Eric Bischoff, and Grant Fiore adieu very soon. We still have much more show to go afterwards. Guys, next week, another trio of amazing luminaries will be here live as well as we are at the 11th hour of this first round. A few spots remaining. Guys, topic number 3 is going to be different for all 3 of these amazing human beings that we are seeing before us. It's a thought-provoking question. Starting with Grant, the question I ask you, Grant, is at what point does working for a better life become an unhealthy obsession? Whenever you are ready, good sir.
You know what? I think it becomes when it envelops your whole life. And you've got to enjoy family. You've got to enjoy friends. You've got to enjoy time away from work. And I think when you're focused 24/7 on work, it becomes invaluable after a little while. I know when I played that it probably cost me a couple of marriages, that I was 100% committed to being as good as I could be playing hockey. And anything outside of that, at that time, didn't matter. And I forgot to take the enjoyment of it. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You got to look and smell the roses. You got to enjoy the walk, enjoy the time, and get it for what it's worth. It goes by so fast. Unfortunately, I'm not young anymore. And I wish I'd have taken more time. And yeah, I'd still like to have put 100% into the work, but I would have liked to have enjoyed the ride a little bit more sometimes.
Wow. And you were so committed to your sport and your craft at such a young age, but you had a coolness about you. The great thing about you is you didn't let anything get to you, man. You're one of the most. Yeah. Well,
swimming like hell at the bottom.
I was going to say all of your teammates, including Wayne Gretzky, always bring that up, that you're not only the best goalie in their opinion, but the greatest teammate and friend that they've had. And in these last few weeks, speaking to some people that are my friends like Jim McMahon and some other luminaries, they say the same thing about you, man. It's great that you are able to give it your all on the ice, but what you're doing right now, which I'll speak of momentarily, is benefiting like humanity. So massive respect to you, good sir. Guys, absolutely. I'm going to ask Miles a question. It is different than the question I asked Grant and the one I will ask Eric. Miles, how can a single moment have the power to change everything, good sir?
Well, and obviously, there are moments that, deaths and births, and there are things that change your life, 1,000%, 180, turn you fully around, and hearing this question in my life, when I was in high school, I went to a different kind of high school where you got to major just like college, and you got that college experience and you picked your classes. And I was a business major in high school, and I took that to college. And my total thought is, I'm going to be a banker. I'm going to be a vice president of a bank one day. And that was where I was driven academically when I got to college. And then I walked, I went to Temple University, and I just walked past the gymnastics gym. And oh wow, you know, and I was not into gymnastics like that. I didn't even know they had a gymnastics team, and just happened to walk in the gym, and said, wow, I would love to do this sport. This sport, I didn't know much about gymnastics, but I just, it always intrigued me, and that moment in time changed my whole life. You know, from being a banker to being a coach, and what I wanted to do is yes, coach. And I learned, I wanted to do what a coach did for me. But I think about the lives that I have touched through coaching, the thousands of athletes. I mean, now I see hundreds of athletes a month that come through my personal gym club in Asheville, North Carolina, and the lives of the gymnasts and universities and national teams and Olympic teams, and all of those lives that I touched, that positively, that gymnastics has been such a blessing to me that in every facet of my life, I can't turn without there's something about gymnastics that there's a positive impact that I've made. To see athletes that leave my program and come back because they've had a tremendous experience that I know I've done, and I'm doing it the right way. That, when they leave, such an awesome, incredible childhood that you have had from being part of one of my programs. And that's what I want, that you can be as successful as you possibly can. And you have loved that experience. You love the process of the hard work and everything that you have to do to be successful the right way. And that's what I've been preaching in my sport for forever, to do it the right way. And you can get results the right way. But for that moment in time, and I still remember that moment of just walking past the gym and said, wow, they have gymnastics. This is awesome. And walking in that gym and just turned my life around. And now here I am, a Hall of Fame coach, a coach of Olympic champion, and NCAA champion, and all the gamut of my sport. Just by walking past the gym that day changed my life, that moment in time.
I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear all the bevy of compliments you receive from those who respect you. You're an awesome man. Really, I mean that.
Thanks,
I'm glad Mitch got us together. Shout out to Mitch. Mitch is a great guy.
Hey, shout out to Mitch.
Absolutely. And guys and gals, please, once again, let's give Eric and Mark Henry and Pete Babcock and Grant Fuhr and Miles Avery, give them a hand if you can. I mean, we can't see you, so you can get up if you're in your underwear and have fun. But give them a hand, because they're here, and what they're doing is they're illustrating a very compelling, a very honest present. And that's much more important than any prize. And I think it sounds cheesy and cliche, but we are all winners, because if we could take anything that they're applying, these are successful human beings. They've reached the pinnacle. I know I'm learning. I know I'm sitting under the learning tree. So let's appreciate what they're providing us here live, as we do every Saturday. Guys, we're going to finish things up right now. Please put your votes in the comment section right now, because when Mr. Eric Bischoff is finished with his presentation and his thoughts, we are going to tally their votes, and I'm going to ask Eric, Grant, and also Miles to hang out for a couple more minutes. I have a tribute video that I made myself for all three of them that they deserve to see. Mr. Eric Bischoff, the question I have for you is, it's 5 words. How do you measure success?
One word: freedom. Freedom from the pressure or the compulsion to do what other people think you should do, or to try to keep up in any way with other people based on where you perceive them to be in their lives. Because what you see most of the time when you look around you, people you work with, people you follow on Instagram, people you read about in the newspaper, see on television, what you see isn't what's real most of the time. It's a projection of what people want you to believe is real. And part of my journey, I guess, if you want to call it a journey, going back to a couple of years ago when I didn't hit rock bottom, but I was bouncing off of it well enough to be able to describe it to the next person. But learning to become grateful freed me of a compulsion. My compulsion was competing with myself to a large degree, but also with others. I wanted to drive a nicer car. I wanted a bigger house. I wanted to take my kids on nicer vacations. I wanted to do this. I want. I got caught up in that trap. And in the process of disciplining myself and learning really from the ground up how to be grateful for the little things in life, all of a sudden the crap didn't mean anything to me anymore. And once that didn't mean anything to me anymore, that meaning trying to keep up with everybody else or reaching some level of success that I thought was important, everything became easier and way more fun. And I learned that having fun and working hard, it's a symbiotic relationship that I have to have. Because I spent a lot of time working hard, but I wasn't really having that much fun. And I spent a fair amount of time having a good time, but I wasn't working that hard. Those combinations don't work, either one. But when I quit competing with whatever it is I was competing with and just learned how to be appreciative for what I had, I started feeling free in a way that I had never felt in my life, because I've been chasing that, whatever it was I was chasing, since the time I was about 6 or 8 years old, working at Lucy's corner store in Detroit. Freedom to me is everything. Personal freedom. I get to work with who I want to work with, when I want to work with them, where I want to work with them, and how I want to work with them. And it sounds arrogant as hell, but it's really not, because I have a circle of people that I get to work with that I really, really enjoy working with. And just the energy that is a result of that makes everything that I'm doing ultimately more successful. It's a great formula.
I think it's amazing to think that we lived in a time where some people had such a work ethic at a young age. Like, I left the house at 17, never came back. And you, Eric, when you were, I guess, 7 or 8, 9 years old, you never stopped working from that age. There was a point, was it Lucy's, where they would allow you to simply take your hand and reach into the register and grab as much change as you can?
that was my payday. And by the way, my brother and my sister and I are going back to Detroit. A couple of weeks ago, I was there in Detroit. I knocked on the door of the house that I grew up in. The lady answered the door. She answered the door. She like peeked through the crack in the door. She was afraid, someone was going to break into her house.
Right.
I was afraid I was going to get shot. We were both a little nervous, but I finally, I introduced myself, and she didn't know who I was. And I said, listen, here, I wrote down my name. I said, just Google me. And here's my number. Wow. And after you Google me, if you're comfortable calling me back, you probably won't be as afraid as you are right now. And I'd love to come back. And I did. And now my brother and my sister and I are going back. Her kids are huge wrestling fans, so that helped a lot. But we're going to go back and have a barbecue in the house that I grew up in.
So amazing.
Right. On May 4th. So yeah, we're looking.
It's the same place that is that the same that you and Mark would watch Dick Clark when you were kids?
I started watching wrestling.
I love it. Yeah, that's
morning wrestling. Big time wrestling.
That's one of my it's on my bucket list, but I've never had the courage to do what Eric did. Miles, Grant, I don't know if you have, but like to go to my childhood home and see what it looks like. Wow, that's pretty cool.
But to answer your question, I go to Lucy's. My job when I was 6, 7, 8 years old was to pick up all the garbage and sweep the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I was a little kid, right? I had little hands.
Sure.
And Lucy, her husband Frank, would open up the cash register, and I got one grab. Just one. Whatever I could grab is what I got paid for that day. And I eventually figured out that going for dimes was better in the long run when you've got a small hand.
There's a science to it. I love it. Guys and gals.
I get to go to my childhood home all the time because my dad still lives there.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's a gift, man. That's a gift.
That is. It's incredible.
That's pretty cool, man. That really is amazing. Guys and gals and pals, this was our third topic. I've had a blast. I want to bring in Mr. Pete Babcock. Guys, this is Mr. Pete Babcock for our third and final topic. You can vote in the comments section as well, along with Pete and Mark Henry. Pete, your thoughts?
Again, all interesting comments by all three individuals. Eric, I thought it was interesting that the whole concept of freedom. I think probably all feel that way. If we have we're free to do what we want to do, and we're not tethered to something. In full disclosure, we both worked for the same guy, Ted Turner, at one time. Even though you and I didn't work together, but he was an individual I thought would really use that element of freedom. Basically, I mean, Ted did what he wanted to do, and he rolled the dice, and it worked, and it didn't work, and but he wasn't afraid to take chances, and lived a great life and helped an awful lot of people. Miles, your story about one event changing your life, I can identify with that because when I finished college, I graduated with a degree in political science. My goal was, I grew up as a student in the 1960s, so I was heavily invested in social activities at the time, the civil rights movement, the war in Vietnam, all the things that were happening that impacted the younger generation, well, impacted the whole country, but the younger generation really embraced a lot of these things. So my plan was go to law school, use that as a vehicle to go into politics and change the world, make it a better place. And after 1 week of law school, I said, I have no passion for this. I can't do this. I don't have a passion for it. So I went back to my old high school and asked the coach if I can volunteer to be his assistant coach, having no plan. I had no idea what I was going to do. He let me do it, and that started my career. And I had no idea that's where I was going to go. So I can relate exactly to what you're saying. And Grant, I really appreciate what you were saying, because I feel like I've been fortunate. I've had one wife, 53 years, because she's allowed me to do all the things I wanted to do. But professional sports for 42 years takes its toll, and you're on the road all the time. And I wasn't the player, but I was a coach and a GM and other roles. And I was on the road all the time and devoted so much energy to what I was doing that if I could do anything to change, it would be to enjoy the ride a little bit more, still work at it, but enjoy the ride. And sometimes I feel like I overdid it in terms of preparation and trying to outwork people. So this one, I'll go with Grant.
Grant Fuhrer gets Mr. Pete Babcock. So, and Pete, I'm sure that you would concur. It would be great in the future to have Mr. Miles Avery, Mr. Eric Bischoff, and Mr. Grant Fuhrer on our show, Intertwining Thoughts. I'd love to have you guys on our show in the future.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about, I teach courses on the civil rights in the game of basketball and how they interrelated and fed off of one another. And I've had good fortune to work for years with John Lewis in Atlanta, and we did projects together in the community with young people, and worked with Jesse Owens in Phoenix back in the 1970s. So, just opportunity it'd be great to have you guys come on and share your experiences in life and the things that you've overcome, that you've seen, that would help us enhance our show. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's great seeing you, all three of you. Just I learned an awful lot. I love the format, as I'm sure you guys do too, that Avi has created, where it's bringing all of us together from different walks of life and different life experiences, and sharing those experiences. I mean, it's remarkable. It's just every time I listen, and it's just such a great learning experience for me.
Thank you, Pete. I feel like I'm a lot wiser listening to these three gentlemen, and you, as always, my friend. I'm going to put you backstage momentarily, Mr. Pete Babcock. Thank you, guys. Guys, this is Pete Babcock again, giving us his honesty and his experience and opinion as well. Thank you. Guys, Mr. Mark Henry and his thoughts.
Mr. Babcock, just, I know you're backstage, but any of those initiatives that you try to pull in the communities where you want to educate and help people, Avi has my phone number. You call me anytime.
Same here,
Right.
by the way.
Same here.
Yeah. And I don't think you'll have any problem getting support from athletes, because we all want to try to do better for other people. Sometimes, we try to push things to make it better for people than they want for themselves. So, just give us a call.
That's great. Thank you.
I'm gonna. Oh boy, this is like,
You have the toughest. You guys, you have the toughest jobs of the night.
this you talk about like nepotism and siding with your cohorts. This is one of those. Like I'm going to have to go with Eric because of like the freedoms, because I've been awarded, and I say awarded and gifted freedoms that other people that came from where I came from didn't have because of my abilities and the fact that I was an entertainer and an athlete. I was able to do things, and I got in an argument with a guy a few years ago, and and based off the fact that I don't have that fear of the rules don't always apply to you, and you guys know what I mean. As a celebrity, as an athlete, you walk around the metal detectors, you get the get in the car and drive to the plane and not go through the airport. You know what it is. He said, well, you suffer from the magical Negro syndrome. He was like, you get treated like a king, and we're the ones that get treated like the normal people. And I said, you know what, man? My grandmother was the normalest of normal people. And you're assaulting the way she raised me and the way my mother raised me by what you're saying right now, because I've never in my life used my power or my influence for my advantage, other than it to be monetary to take care of my family. I've always tried to do more for others than I've done for myself. If I could have all the money I fundraised for, it would have well 5 times over made what I made in my career as an athlete. So I didn't want to hear that argument. But power is infectious. There was a point where I made a comment about my boss, who was the most powerful guy in pro wrestling at the time. And he was like, why would you say that? You're not afraid of me? And I said, you can't whoop me. You can take your money back, but you're going to take it back with ass whooping.
I'd have bought a ticket to see that, Mark, just so you know.
So my fear of another man at that age, I didn't have it. Power is something, man, I felt bulletproof as a young man. And those things can either harm you or hurt you. I've been blessed that God chose me, so I got to be David. I got to be the warrior. A lot of people became the villain, became the crook. They became the bad guy. Eric has been in the wrestling business 15 years longer than me. And he'll never hear nobody say nothing bad about me, because there ain't nothing for them to say. And so power,
Mark,
and freedom, I think, would be the one that I chose. That's why I went with Eric.
With Eric Bischoff. I do have one issue with you, my friend.
Okay.
You kind of tell you what it is?
Yeah.
We had a conversation about this the other day. I said that the president needs to address this. I said there needs to be a state of the armrest. It's not appropriate for people to recline their seat on an airplane to the point where they're on someone's lap. You get one notch on the airplane. You should get one notch, a one-notch rule. Nobody wants to see the back of someone's head when they're just leaning back all of a sudden.
One notch, and
one notch.
You have to make a declaration. Excuse me, sir. I'm going to come back just one notch. Hopefully you won't mind. If you don't give the disclaimer, you should not be allowed to push your seat back.
Yes.
It's rude.
Yes, thank you.
And it will break your kneecaps.
That I agree with.
Thank you, right? It will break your kneecaps, and it's the buttons. The buttons are wrong. They're wrong. I don't like the buttons. You push the button, and there's no way to gradually slide back. It just has to break someone's kneecaps. There needs to be a state of the armrest. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
I have to press the button.
Yeah.
Push the seat back with my hand, because if I lean my weight back on it, oh, you don't need an orthopedic.
But Mark, you're a leader though. You're a leader of men. Why not huddle like we did back in the day in sports? Does the person in the far left get them? Does the person in the right get it? How about the person in the middle? If it's on a plane, it needs to be addressed. You have to ask the person, we might have an armrest issue over here. Tell the person, you take the first tower. I'll take the rest. Work it out. We can compromise. That's all I'm saying.
I love it. I love it. You know, and I actually flew in the middle seat because I had last minute. I had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I took the last seat on the plane.
All right. I remember that.
In coach.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the people on both sides of that empty seat when they see Mark coming down the aisle?
I felt so bad.
They're praying, they're chanting, they got sage smoke going. Oh.
I folded my arms. I had to fold my arms to keep for 2 hours to keep from spilling over into their seat.
Oh no.
And I kind of leaned forward and folded my arms, and the guy was next to me. He's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "You can lean, you can sit back, man. It's okay." And I said, "No, this lady, I don't want to." And he was like, "No, it's okay. It's okay." Like everybody was trying to be so nice and accommodating to me, but I felt guilty because I had about another 40 pounds of humanity on each one. But it's, you know, like the plane, there's a bunch of rules that.
But I appreciate you had a dialogue with them about that. That's really cool you to have that dialogue and exchange. But yes, state of the armrest needs to happen. Guys and gals, Mr. Mark Henry, I'm going to put you backstage momentarily. Right after I bid Mr. Eric Bischoff, Miles Avery, and Grant Fiore adieu, I'm going to bring you back up, my friend. Thank you again. Legendary Mark Henry, guys. Absolutely. I'm going to bring Mark and Pete back in momentarily. Guys, a quick question. You all had a lot of fun tonight, I hope. I had a blast with you guys.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
A lot of fun.
Really grateful for the opportunity to be here, especially with you three gentlemen. So impressed, Coach Avery, Grant Fiore. Your story's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. Great job, Avi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Eric and Miles, I want to put you backstage for a moment. I have a tribute video for you. I'm going to play one for Grant, and then I'll bring in Eric and Miles for their video as well. And guys, we're going to tally your votes. We're going to let Eric and Miles and Grant know who advanced to round number 2 of the TKN Celebrity Tournament. 2 move on, 1 does not. But right now, I'm going to have a video that I will play for Grant Fiore. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Miles. I'll pull you back in momentarily, guys. Grant, I want you to see this because, man, oh man, I put this together last night. I feel like all 3 of you gentlemen deserve this. It is a bit of a scrapbook, a visual one at least. You've done so much for so many, my friend. I hope you enjoy this video. It's all about family.
Well, I agree. That's almost right to hear, though.
What a team. What a team.
Good cast of guys.
They couldn't have done it without you, my friend.
Well, I don't know about that.
Everybody else does. Mr. McMahon, Jim McMahon.
Yeah, we go back a long ways.
Yes, sir. Ah.
A lot of different looks. Little hair challenge now.
I like it though. It works. Every look that you have seems to work. God, I wish I could grow a mustache. You love golf and you're great at golf, my friend.
I enjoy it.
I want to say this to you without these suckers on my face here, but what's the right eye? Thank you so much for being you, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you a bit. I will let you know, of course, tomorrow as far as the results. But Grant, you're amazing. Did you have a nice time today? Did you have a nice evening with us?
I had a great time, Avi. Thank you so much. It's awesome.
You're awesome, and there's an event coming up. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we've got my celebrity golf tournament coming up here May 17th and 18th, where we raise a bunch of funds for the children's program over at the Betty Ford Center. So it's year 4 for us, and my wife's the brains behind it. I'm just a pretty face, or at least that's what I go with anyway.
No, you work hard, but she works so hard to put it together. I know that as well. You guys make a great team.
That's the fun part, is we do make a good team, and we both see things the same way. So that makes things a lot easier.
Well, you're a legendary athlete, but a legendary human being first and foremost. And I thank you graciously for joining us tonight, my friend.
Avi, it's my pleasure.
Likewise. The great Grant Fuhrer, guys and gals. Have a great rest of the weekend. I want to bring in Mr. Eric Bischoff right now before we bid him adieu because, didn't want to have these on all night. I wanted to look you eye to eye and say it's really, really cool to be able to speak to someone that I didn't know much about. And within a few short weeks, I want to know more about, if that makes any sense. Because you really do give it back, man. I could tell you don't like compliments. I'm the same way. They make me cringe when I get them sometimes. I always say I'd rather be sappy than cynical because time's short. But I want to tell you from the heart, if it means anything, you're a really awesome, honest human being. And based on the vibe that you present and based on the storytelling and based on your honesty, I wish there were more people like you around me, my friend. That's from the heart.
Wow. Well, I don't think I could hear a greater compliment. So thank you very, very much. It's been a real pleasure. I was excited when we first spoke, and I know we had a little bit of a scheduling issue, and I was in Australia last week and blah, 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 blah. But I'm really glad you had patience with me and gave me this opportunity because it's really, really been fun. And I look forward to doing it again someday.
Thank you, my friend. I will play a video I have for you as well, and I'll let you know tomorrow, of course, about round number 2. Guys and gals and pals, based on the votes, it looks like Eric will be back for round number 2. But round number 2 is going to be in a few months. We don't know the dates just yet. We're always going to be very flexible with the dates for our luminaries. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a different trio, perhaps. Eric might be on with a couple of different luminaries. But my friend, again, I hope that this particular video I put together for you does you justice.
My wife.
Awesome.
Vern Gagne. There's Stephen Michael. Yes, sir. A daughter on my lap and my wife in the back of the Harley.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a great one.
Muhammad Ali. Great moment.
Is that Marvin Hagler?
Yeah. There's my dog. And my grandson.
There they are. That's awesome. Terrific show. Terrific show. 83 weeks.
Wow.
It's a lot like practicing gratitude is a little bit like working out. You've got to do it every day. And if you're not doing it every day, you're planning it and it's a part of your life. But the more I focused on being grateful, the more successful I became. And I was forced into a situation where I had to reinvent myself at 65 years old when all my buddies are retired and living on islands and whatever they're doing. Here I am starting over. And it was overwhelming for me at that stage of my life. And again, just learning how to become grateful just changed my outlook on everything.
Very often, people don't live up to the hype when you do your due diligence and research to put this show together, which takes about 6 days of my week. But yeah, I could say you far surpassed any sort of expectation as a human being that you are. And I have to mention this as well. I think that when people are interested in what you have to offer as a true Renaissance man who really does have a lot of interests, 83 weeks is the place to go, because you don't break down pro wrestling the way that maybe most people would assume. You ran a company, Eric. You ran a company for one of the biggest. I mean, think about this: TNT, world-renowned Ted Turner. The way that you and your partner Conrad, and I said this off air, that man is a human encyclopedia of information as well. The work that the two of you do together, the camaraderie that is able to, I think, gradually, slowly, each episode build and build and build, where you can have a laugh but also be honest with one another, is so refreshing. And I implore everybody to watch 83 Weeks. Where can they watch 83 Weeks? I know it's everywhere.
Well, if you go to 83weeks.com, you get the podcast, you get all of my YouTube shows. Everything is really right there. 83 Weeks, the podcast, is available wherever you get your favorite podcast. So Google the internet, as I like to say. You'll find it.
How about this new book that's coming out? I'm really interested in reading that myself.
Grateful. Yeah. Ironically, we've been talking a lot about it, but it's, being grateful is something that's really, really impacted my life, and wrote a book. It's called Grateful right there. Find it on Amazon or go to bischoffbooks.com. Either way. But yeah, it was a journey, learning how to open yourself up and not being embarrassed or ashamed.
Sure.
Talking about the challenges in one's life is another step towards freedom. Because if you're not talking about it, you're keeping it inside, you're hiding it, you're doing what you're stuffing it under the couch or under the bed or whatever you're doing. But talking about things and being honest and open and not being afraid of people's judgment of you is a sense of freedom in and of itself. So, it was a pleasure.
Well, thanks for reminding people that they can somehow muster up the courage to look at the man or woman in front of the mirror, because that might be tough for some people to do. But as long as you can't get anything but truth when you look inside. Man, oh man, Eric, it's official. You're going to be in round 2. Can't wait for you to be coming back again. The field will be a lot less than the 115 we have now. But more than anything else, thanks for your humanity. Thanks for you being you. And again, I hope you and your family have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it very much. You be well.
You too. Eric Bischoff, guys and gals, and Miles Avery. Miles, I got to tell you, man, I'm blown away by the fact that Mark Henry has never said this before. The fact that it took 5 or 10 minutes for you to speak and resonate with Mark and resonate with all of us, it does. It says a lot about you. The reason why I compliment a lot of the luminaries here is because you guys bear your hearts and soul, and that's not easy to do in front of strangers. But you really are a class individual. I'll say it again. Mitch, if you're listening, you were right about this, man. I told Mitch over the phone about 3 times that it took me one conversation with you to go for me to say, I like Miles. I want to be his friend. And I mean that from the heart. There's a lot of sincerity about you, my friend. You too will be moving on to round number 2 of the TKN Celebrity Tournament.
Awesome.
It's going to be a blast to see you there. And I also hope that this particular video that I play does you some justice. So, guys and gals, this is Miles Avery. Well, you're in round 2, but I also won. I made a new friend in you, and thank you for inspiring people and always having a great attitude. You got to let me know where that Fountain of Youth is because I need to find it, my friend. I mean, I got to check your ID the next time you come up here and compete in this broadcast.
It's the kids. It's the kids. It's so blessed to be able to be in kids' lives, and they do keep you young. And I just love my life. I love the kids that I get a chance to, just be a part of their lives. And
you could tell, but I got to bring this up. American Ninja Warrior, still doing it, still going strong. There are athletes that are in their 20s and 30s, and you're kicking butt. That must feel really cool to know that you push yourself beyond expectations of anyone in our age group.
Yeah, have no expectations, and I try to give that to my kids. If your dreams don't scare you, they ain't big enough.
Ooh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miles, thank you again. I'm going to see you in round 2, and I will speak to you at some point next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Avi. Thank you very much.
You. Guys and gals, I want to bring in Pete Babcock and Mark Henry before I bid them adieu as well. Pete, Mark, I have to say, number one, I'm glad that you two had to vote and I didn't. I would have stalled. I noticed that the beard was getting a little white here, so I wanted to prevent that from happening up here. So I stopped voting in these things. How did you guys do it? How did you vote?
Avi, I'm gonna tell you something. One of the photos that you showed was Avery with one of the guys he coached, Jair Lynch.
Right.
And Jair was a gymnast at Stanford, and Jair is the reason I introduced me to my wife.
No way! Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and so I talk to him all the time, and to see him in that photo, I was like, well, I'll be damned.
Wow.
Sitting here giving Coach Avery a hand, and here he is taking a photo with the guy that introduced me to my wife.
To your wife. That's incredible. Are we talking about how many years ago was this around? Maybe?
This was 93.
93. Wow.
This was right after the Barcelona games. We were living at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and they were driving cross country and stopped in to Colorado Springs to the Olympic Training Center to say hello to Jair. And
Mark, was Jair in the 96 Olympics?
92.
But not in the 96.
I think Cheney was the rings guy at that point.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have to ask him. Maybe I think
we lost Mark for a second, guys and gals. Let him know that he's But guys, Pete, I got to tell you something as well, man. There is a shift here. We talk often. There's a shift here with this tournament becoming more of a living room style conversation. As a listener, as opposed to being someone who judges, do you find this experience to be a lot more illuminating, a lot more thoughtful, a lot more mindful?
Well, it's like the very first question tonight. My immediate response was, this wasn't a debate. This was 3 individuals sharing personal insights into their lives, and so it was really hard to judge it and try to say one was better than the other when all 3 were spectacular. And I learned so much about all 3 people. And so, yeah, it's like a living room conversation.
And as I was telling when we speak too, it's whoever resonates most with you. It's whoever is able to somehow resonate with you.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, that still doesn't make it easier because they all resonated with us.
No, and each time. Each time you ask me to judge, it's like I go, okay, I'll do it, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be easy because every time it's brutal.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Man, I got to say this to you, though, because we're on air and look, we get just to be able to see how TKN has grown. It wouldn't have grown without you in many ways, which I won't delve into. But again, your support and your appreciation of what I do and now what we do together, it's rare because we haven't broken bread. We haven't done that. I want to shake your hand. It's something that's on my bucket list. But to be able to still connect with people like you and consider you to be like one of my great friends without us ever having broken bread, it's really special for me. I want you to know that, man.
Well, me too. I appreciate that very much, Avi, but I feel exactly the same way. And hopefully one of these days you'll get to Newport, Rhode Island, and we'll have a meal together and hang out.
Can't wait for that.
Right?
I can't
Right.
wait for that.
Anytime. My guest, anytime.
I can't wait for that. And after round number 1, Intertwining Thoughts will resume. All of our talk shows will, with some great guests, some great insight, led by you, my friend.
Well, I'm looking forward to that too. And we got, Wayne Embry has told me he'll come on with us, and
Great Wayne
Seth
Embry.
Sanders, and we've got a number of people that are excited to come on and share their experiences, and they've got, both those individuals have amazing stories to tell. And I think listeners will really be, they'll learn a lot from it, and they'll learn a lot about really our racial history that these two gentlemen were actively involved in. Like Wayne's wife flew down and was on the Edmund Pettus Bridge with Dr. King. Oscar Robinson and Wayne Embry were playing together, Cincinnati Royals. Both their wives got on a plane, flew to Alabama,
right,
to march across the bridge. And this is before cell phones, right? Wayne and Oscar were on the road playing. They both were scared to death about the safety of their wives, obviously. Sure. They flew back into Cincinnati after this road trip with a plan to meet their wives at the airport. And they waited and waited and waited, and the wives finally showed up. The wives told, both Oscar's wife and Wayne's wife told them it was so scary that after the march, they had to be smuggled in the back of a pickup truck under blankets to the airport just to get back out. And then when there was a disturbance in Cincinnati, Wayne's wife Terry went down into the middle of all of it to try to help calm things down.
Right.
And Wayne's got so many stories about stuff that he lived through, and Wayne's been one of my mentors my whole professional career, and we got a chance to work together in Toronto on the same team. But we talk all the time, and I still learn so much from him every day. But anyway, those are the kinds of stories we can get into when we resume the show.
And to think we're only talking about 50, 60 years ago, which is not a lot.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Truly unbelievable.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mark, I was asking about whether the athlete, your buddy, was in the '96 Olympics, when it was responsible for your wife, right?
Yeah, Jair, yeah.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking that is my daughter worked gymnastics for the Olympic Committee in '96, and that name somehow clicks in my head as like somebody that she got to spend time with.
I'm sitting here thinking about Jair was on that team in '96 too.
Okay, that name just sounds familiar. I may be wrong, but
he got a silver medal. He should have won gold.
Okay, I think that was one of her favorite people because she spent time with him and a lot with all the gymnasts. But she used to talk about him all the time as being one of her favorite people. That name just seemed to click. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base on it, but that's why I asked about it anyway.
Go with your instincts.
always go with your instincts. But I got to tell you, Pete, before I bid you adieu again, thank you for educating people the way that you do. You've made me a better teacher, because really the way that you educate is through a conversation that makes people forget that they're learning so much. And by the time the conversation's over, you're like, wait a minute. I just learned about 5, 10, 20 new facts I didn't even know about. Yeah. So it's mind-blowing. Thank you for being you, brother.
Yeah, thanks. And Mark, it was great spending time with you this evening too.
Oh my God, it was. I can't wait to get to know you better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too.
It might happen if the two of you face off in round number 2. You never know.
No, don't put me against Mark. I want to have a chance to advance the next round. Mark, are you kidding me?
The great Pete Babcock. Have a great weekend, my friend.
All right, thank you. Good to see you guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Man, Mark, I'm glad you got a chance to. You were on with Pete a while back, but
yeah,
man, he's such a humble human being. He reminds me of you because you have that same quality where when we talk, there's so much information you bestow upon me, but sometimes I'm so involved in the flow of the conversation that I forget there's an abundance of facts that I'm learning through you and by you and from you. It's incredible.
You know what, man? I think that's the best learning tool.
Yes, sir.
It's experience. And how much time can you spend with somebody? Like, what's the content of what y'all are talking about? I spent a lot of my youth spending time with some things that people would think would be insignificant. Video games, going out to nightclubs. And I look back at it, you know what? I sat at a bar in Austin, Texas, downtown with Dick Butkus.
Wow.
And talked to him for almost an hour and a half. And man, I just learned so much about the man and how he thought about things. And
sure,
people always talk about, man, I wish I could have changed this. And he just went through a laundry list of things. He said, but you know what? I can't change them. So I got to learn to live with it. And you know what? It got me this far. I guess I'm going to be okay. And I thought to myself, wow, that was heavy, because sometimes we can fuss and argue and mitigate whether or not something was right or wrong.
Sure.
And you can't change it. You got to live in it and say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to make this different.
100%.
That's all you can change.
That's what I like about you. You don't talk problems. The greats talk solutions. You talk solutions.
I want the answer.
Yes.
I want the solution. The problems, like talking about the problem, is trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. In the tube.
Back in tube, yeah.
I can't do it. I don't have the patience to do it. You might be able to do it, but it's going to take you a lifetime.
It definitely will, but it definitely won't take us a lifetime to know that, man, again, when you show up here and anywhere else, it's not just the green room. It is so worth the listen. And I want people to understand how awesome Busted Open Radio is. Again, I haven't followed wrestling in probably 20 years or so, but it's camaraderie. When you listen to Busted Open Radio, you're listening to Dave, you're listening to Mark, you're listening to friends who bring the best out of each other. And that's what Busted Open Radio is all about, Mark.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, we don't just talk about wrestling.
Right.
We talk about, Eric said that the news is meant to make you feel just like wrestling is. And he was 100% right. The pro wrestling world is not about the wins and losses. It's not about who's got the most wins in their career. It's about how many fans you affected, how you made people feel, and how people feel about you.
Yes.
I know for a fact that my fans, they've had so many interactions with me, and they've got to listen to me so many times say that I would rather lose and them have a good time than them be disappointed that they paid their money and me win. That's just the way I believe.
Yeah, and you make people feel, and you never bring up what you got, but you're a busy guy, Mark. I have to ask you this because I'm curious. What do you got coming down the pike, my friend? There's a lot that you're always doing. You're always flying. There's AEW, there's Busted Open. There's a plethora of other different projects as well.
Well, I mean, and I'm going and doing a barbecue cook-off in South Carolina at Seaford Field coming up this month, at the end of the month. At the end of May,
yes,
May 28th, the documentary on my life is going to air on A&E. We'll do like a big media blast for that, so people will get to see that. And I got a little misty when everybody started talking about their childhood homes, because in that documentary we go to my hometown, and I own my mother's house.
Is that right?
And we stood outside, and they were like, "Why is it empty?"
Right.
And I said, "It's been empty since she passed, and I can't put nobody in it." and I've run from that my whole, like, since my mother passed.
Sure.
In 2002. I just didn't even want to deal with it.
Sure.
I'm going to have to do something with it. And I think that going through all of this has gave me closure. So I recently started thinking about renovating it and renting it out to somebody or selling it. I don't know. I don't have to own it anymore.
Yeah, but you use the word through, so kudos to you for going through it and not around it. And it's hard to go through things sometimes, and for you to be able to cope with that. I've, again, mentioned about 4 or 5 times, but I had to go through a similar situation. I was set to get married, and 2 weeks before the wedding date, my bride-to-be opens up a door and drops dead of an aneurysm. So she had migraines, and this was years back, of course, and I was like a moron. I kept saying to her, oh, take some Advil liquid gels. You don't need to see anybody, a neurologist or anything. And then, man, I had to go through it. And I kept telling myself, there's no way I'm going to go around it. That didn't work. And I had to go through it. And I give you courage for doing that. I know the following looks and might sound a little bit animated, but if you can guess what I'm doing, this is me pinching myself because I got to be living a dream to have a brother and a friend like you who really stands for something. I want to tell you the same thing, man. Breaking bread, being able to exchange our experiences, stories, and continue to see this friendship blossom means the world to me, my friend.
Hey, it means the world to me. The man with one friend is the wealthiest man alive.
You're right about that. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the weekend, my friend.
All right, man. I was going to show Grant Fuhr my son, Jacob. Jacob walked through the he goes into the closet and all of the places I went.
Yeah.
A lot of the athletes give me jerseys.
Sure.
And come here. And Jacob is wearing.
Hey, Jacob, how you doing? Oh, there we go.
Good. How are you guys doing?
The Buffalo
How you doing?
State.
Well, hold on. I want to say this for a second. People have seen you on camera. They're going to get used to it because you're kicking butt, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. More to come for sure.
I love it.
Sure.
I love it. Hey, I got to ask you a quick question. Let's embarrass your dad in a good way. How amazing has his motivation been throughout your life, my friend?
How big is his motivation or my motivation?
The way he's been able to be such an impactful force in your life.
Oh no, he works hard and he tells me like, hey, if I want to be great, I have to work hard too. So even when I'm like being lazy and being a chump, I just go to him and he's always there to give me a crazy story that I'm like, are you sure that's true? But nah. In all seriousness though, like I wouldn't be where I am without him. He helps me work hard and he's been an inspiration over these last few years. So
from the heart, it's been awesome to track your progress, man.
So
thank you.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jacob.
Hey, that check isn't gonna be in the mail, man. Coming. Keep waiting. Long as I owe you, you'll never be broke.
My friend, it's always a pleasure.
All right, brother. Great show today.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
The great Mark Henry, guys and gals and pals. We're going to go another hour. We're going to go an hour because we got much more show to go. But oh my gosh, guys, I'm going to read your comments. I will, I promise you. But it's been, look, on video, Jim McMahon, Eddie Johnson, Pete Babcock, Mark Henry, Grant Fuhr, Miles Avery, Eric Bischoff. You're talking about 4 Hall of Famers, 1 soon to be. It has been amazing to have not only these luminaries show up because they obviously are very experienced, knowledgeable, and can educate us because they've reached the pinnacle, but they have not lost their humanity. That's why they're part of this network. There have been a few people that might have lost their humanity who are not a part of this network. I choose to work and surround myself with people I want to surround myself with. And for the majority of the time, 95% of the time, the people that I surround myself with lift me up, and I try to lift them up as well. And really, that is what this show is all about, is lifting each other up and having moments of levity, like talking about armchairs. You heard about that earlier? What about that? What about that? There needs to be some sort of state of the armchair rest address. Doesn't there? Leaning back and breaking kneecaps. I already have a torn meniscus. It's not anyone's fault. It's that switch. It needs to go. It's evil. An evil switch. But yeah, man, that's what I mean, guys. A couple of you messaged me and said, man, I'm feeling really down on myself because I don't want to mention your name, but on Thursday, you're like, hey, a friend of mine blocked me and all this stuff. Trust me, let me tell you something. They didn't block you. They saved you. By doing that, you eliminated any potential negativity or toxicity you would have had to encounter at some point. They made your life better. It's liberating. Being free is liberating. And being free is all about love. And that's why loving the people that you're around is freedom. They are your freedom. Give it back to them as I give it back to Howard, Mindy, Giselle, John Red.
Holy smoke, guys. That was an amazing night. After Wednesday, I needed this night. I have been, hold on, Howard, hold on. I'm talking. After what happened on Wednesday night, I needed a lift me up. Eric was talking about freedom. He was talking about that pure, I mean, you saw it in Eric's face when he was talking about that freedom to be free, to live your life. I needed that lift me up. I didn't think I was going to get that kind of inspiration tonight after what happened on Wednesday night. Avi Klein, if you're back there, I need to talk to you. I need to speak to you after what happened on Wednesday night. I didn't know I was going to be able to be inspired like this tonight.
I mean, I can sense your energy has completely like shifted, Mindy, from what I saw.
Howard, I'm telling you, I'm telling Giselle, both of you, I am telling you guys, it's been these last 3 hours have been a completely different me than these last couple of days. I'm rejuvenated. My spirit is renewed after listening to Grant and listening to Eric and listening to what they had to say tonight. Avi Klein, I need to speak with you right now.
We're gonna speak, but I want to say this, guys and gals. We're gonna speak on the Black Box on Wednesday due to time constraints, and here's why. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Joe Regards page. There's a lot going on with the Black Box, guys. There is a ton going on. We also know, guys and gals and pals, that all of you have been able to, again, give us so much with your comments, subscriptions on YouTube as we grow this thing. We do it all together. Guys, John Red, it's still his show, The Black Box. But speaking of shows, guys, Cooking with Purpose re-debuts its first live edition tomorrow. The Howard Show will be debuting tomorrow, and Giselle with Paper Knife. So you're looking at 3 out of the 4 luminaries over here, because they're my luminaries, who are going to be appearing with their very own show tomorrow, Sunday night, the Sunday Source. John, what time can we find you on YouTube? All they have to go is to our YouTube channel tomorrow night and watch Cooking with Purpose when?
It's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have I got the times right? I know there's been some switchings around.
We did have to switch things around a little bit, guys and gals and pals. So we're going to kick things off with Paper Knife at what time, Giselle?
7:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Paper Knife on our YouTube channel.
And that will be followed by Cooking with Purpose at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Mm-hmm.
Closing out the night will be The Howard Show, finally debuting at 8:30 p.m. I think debuting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't want to have to do this, but I do want to pull up some videos because I want to get your comments as well. But there is still so much I want to play because there's so much happening in TKN land, as you guys know. A lot of milestones. I want to share the milestone that we've had this past week in terms of what we've been doing on TKN, new subscribers, new views accumulating almost by the day. This is what we've been up to the past week, guys and gals and pals. Family might have been a clue this week that I provided for one of our luminaries. But it's not a clue in my life. It's not a simple hint. Family is the word on the marquee here. This is family. Family fights, family sticks together, though, we know that. And guys and gals, you're part of our extended family here because we do see your comments. We love them. You're helping us as well. We want to help you. Again, some of you behind the scenes, we appreciate everything you're doing. We'll always give it back again. Man, oh man, I want to talk about a couple of things before I play the next video, but I want to kick it off to this great ensemble that you see before you. I want to kick it off to Papa Red. Papa Red, you know, again, being able to be a part of this, being a part of the growth, we appreciate you because you symbolize what's right about storytelling and what's right about hosting. It's you have this openness about you, this willing to absorb everything, and as a teammate first, and then later on as a friend. Man, I appreciate you being receptive from day number one. You are amazing to watch. Your growth has been incredible to watch, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it, Avi, and I've really got to give it back to you because you're the person who gave me the confidence to even be able to be here right now, and my growth and everything that I've accomplished, it in some way, shape, or form goes back to TKN, the green room, and everything that I've learned from not only you, but you know, everyone at Howard and Giselle and Gina and you know, everyone that I've worked with. You know, I've it's been a great learning experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, brother.
I wouldn't. And guys and gals, after this next video, I'm going to talk about Giselle and what she brings to the table because, again, much like John Red, a third rounder, the first third rounder, you will see a video next week on Saturday night as it pertains to Giselle, Papa Red, and Kelly White, King Kelly. I know John's got a bit of a gripe there. Guys, if you want to know what we're talking about on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Facebook page of Joe Resart, watch it go down live. There's prizes being given and provided to a select few that show up as far as the green roomers are concerned to compete, knowing that round 2 is around the corner. And is it ever around the corner? On May 18th, we've got a special broadcast that will end with a monumental announcement that not even this cast is privy to. A huge announcement with someone they've never seen. It's going to be pretty big as well. So some dates, those are some dates to look forward to. After round 1 ends, immediately after it ends, there'll be Second Chance Bowl, not only voting for those last few spots, but also that same night, we will draw names out of a bowl and find out finally who faces who in the Second Chance Bowl. So there's a lot coming down the pike. But guys and gals and pals, again, I'm going to talk to Giselle about what she does. She's a third rounder, a Renaissance woman who does so very much as well, not only behind the scenes, in front of the camera. Mindy and Howard, I concur with what I said about Giselle. I can say the same about you guys. But right now I won't because I want to play another video. So guys and gals and pals, again, this is something that I want to play for you because in case you missed last week, here are some of the top 10 moments that you might have missed as it pertains to last week. And as soon as it's over, we're finally going to find out who. Was it Calvin? Was it Joseph Rude? Or was it perhaps John O'Hurley? And we're going to do the same thing for this night. We're going to do the same thing. Although it looked like Grant Fuhrer was eliminated, I didn't count all the votes. It looked like Eric Bischoff is in round number 2 and Miles Avery as well. So that's how it stands now. But we don't know who advanced from last week's show. You can vote. Maybe this video will help you vote as well. Immediately following the video, we will vote again on Calvin Murphy, John O'Hurley, and Joseph.
Tim Wakefield and I were very, very close friends. He owned a pitch called the knuckleball, and everybody who ever has played the game says Tim Wakefield threw the best knuckleball. Tim and I were the dearest of friends over possibly 20 years. Last year, he broke it to me that his wife had pancreatic cancer. And last summer, I invited him to play in one of my charity golf tournaments. And he says, I can't do it. I've got to take Stacy, and we're going around the world to check off the boxes of places that she wants to go. I got a text one morning from NBC Sports, and they said, Tim has a brain tumor. He texted me, and he said, I'm fine now. I'm good. The mass is gone. That was on a Thursday night. On Friday morning, Tim was dead. He didn't let anybody know that he had the brain tumor. I didn't have a chance to say goodbye. And unfortunately, he left a wife behind who was also dying. About 3 weeks ago, Stacy died. My one regret is that I wasn't there to hug him, but I always look back at that final text that he said when I said, "I love you." And he responded, "I love you too, bud."
I remember the first time I ever met a friend of mine who passed that was part of the Wyatt family. His name was John. He wrestled as Luke Harper and Brody Lee. The first time I saw him there, I was, like 2 months off of ACL surgery. And I remember limping in on my crutches and seeing this another tall individual. He's about 6'5", I'm 6'8". So it's like, okay, here's a 6'5" guy with, this long black hair and this big black bushy beard. And I'm like, oh, another one. Like, he shook my hand. He was really respectful, but I was having a bad day. But it's me, trying to be funny. Always give somebody a benefit of the doubt, a second chance. You better count them on a bad day. Don't judge meeting somebody by one day.
It's so true. You may end up missing out on having a friend that means a lot to you down the road if you don't. So I agree with that.
If you want to succeed at the top level, you have to put in the work. And it's not magically just going to happen overnight. I talked to David Arquette on the set of one of these films I did, The Ghost of the Ozarks, which he's the reason I was considered for that part. He basically said, hey, we thought you were perfect for this part and you want it, it's yours. And that was my door into SAG. With that experience, he told me that went almost 2 years without getting a part and just auditioning.
Yes, sir.
And that drove me after filming. I fell in love with acting. And
so welcome a kind, talented, humble, down-to-earth human being. Last name O'Hurley, first name John. John, welcome, my friend, to the celebrity tournament.
Well, Avi, thank you very much for that warm welcome. And
last name Murphy, first name Calvin. Calvin, welcome to the tournament, my friend.
Damn! You said it just like I wrote it. My goodness. I didn't know I was that famous. Thank you for letting me know who I am. I've got to go tell my grandboys they're dealing with a legend. I appreciate that. Where'd you get all that information from? You don't work for the FBI, do you?
No. Last I checked, no, but I know that they're proud of you, Calvin. This place is becoming unglued, so put your hands together for a kind, awesome human being. First name Joseph, last name Rude. Welcome, Joseph, to the celebrity tournament, my friend.
wow, that was great, man. That was great.
You know what? I got to say this as well, man. There's someone in the back who's part of the show. His name is John Redd, a very talented storyteller and actor. I want to bring him in here. He's been watching you from Houston almost his whole life. Is that right, John?
Man, I'm H-Town born and raised, and Calvin, you are one of my heroes, brother. It's been such an honor to have watched your career, and when I was such a little kid, and you're such an inspiration to not only me, but my whole family.
God, thank you so much. We're practically family. If you're from Houston, one day we're going to see each other in person. Thank you so much. And you give my very best to your family for believing in me and following me over the years.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Everything goes around and comes around. You can't have something without having purpose.
What are you doing here? You gonna stink up this joint too?
Serving a means.
I have no intentions, first of all, Joe, of backing down. We heard John earlier talk about living a life extraordinary. And you're never gonna get there without taking risks. Take one step over and then you're ordinary. Take another step over and it's extraordinary. So how else am I gonna get there, Joe? You don't scare me.
But now we gotta go above and beyond.
Whatever you want, because I'm not backing down. I care about this place, the black box, the viewers, way too much.
This isn't over. I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm gonna come back. And it's gonna be better. It's just the beginning.
But what can some of our viewers learn? What could they benefit from if they're sitting listening to these amazing stories that you provide about some of these great impactful women in history.
Sure, it won't always be women. We have Asian American and Pacific Islander Month coming up in May. But what we are learning about are people you don't hear about in school, people who need to be celebrated more based on their accomplishments. The work they have done is so outstanding and so inspirational. It's a shame that we don't all know these people's names.
Mr. Murphy, can you name 3 possessions that reflect who you are as a person?
I was given a beautiful cross from a friend that I wear on every broadcast over the last couple of years. I've had them ask me, why do I wear that cross opposed to not wearing a tie? And of course, that opens up the floodgates for me to tell them why. I left youngsters in my hometown that were more talented than I was, but I was given the opportunity, and I want people to know why. Another piece of jewelry that was given to me by my father. Now, I was fortunate enough, I had 2 dads. I was raised by my stepfather. My stepfather wouldn't step on a roach. One of the kindest individuals. 2 grandfather watches, one from each of them. And of course, they've passed away, so I keep them close to me. And that tells people who I am. I'm a father, my baton. Now, but that baton is an instrument of leading. You can see my passion is these youngsters.
It seems like more things change, the more they stay the same. My name is Pinocchio Joe. Do you ever wonder why I've spared you, Mindy Red? It's because revenge need not be a sprint. Well, let me remind you of something. I don't go away. I'm going to be participating in each and every round until you become a distant memory.
You had something up your sleeve the whole time, didn't you, Mr. Red?
Tonight, brother, was a
Pinocchio
win, baby.
Joe. This is for you, my friend. I put this together. I hope that this makes both our audience happy and allows you to maybe reflect upon some great moments that you provided us.
Oh, Avi, I'm welling up. That was extraordinary. Thank you very much.
And I hope that this following video, my friend, does you justice. God bless her. Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow. My whole career in a nutshell. Are you kidding me? Let me explain something to you.
Yes, sir.
If I had done my homework the way you had, I would have been a genius in school.
Joseph Rude, this is a video that I cooked up for you, my friend.
Now, did you pick that song?
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah. Yesterday, I had no idea you'd be bringing up San Dimas, though.
The perfect little touch, the chef's kiss, as you would say.
Wow.
That's just one show. Jesus.
Mindy doesn't look. Mindy, I gotta tell you, Pinocchio Joe sent me a message, and he told you not to worry. The rest of the night, he actually wonders whether or not you can rejoice the way Papa Red is down there. If you can have a Papa Red, why can't Mindy at least try to rejoice a little bit right now, huh?
The whole thing is, obviously, she thought she was better. She thought she came on here talking about how she's rejuvenated. She sees one clip and it's flipped.
I'll tell you what, man, that's what it looks like. Guys and gals, again, I do want to say this about Giselle, Howard, and Mindy, because normally they would. We do only have about 20 minutes. I do want to say this, though. Giselle is going to give us next week more on Unsung Heroes, her own segment. It's going to have its own artwork as well. It'll be here on the show Saturday night, Unsung Heroes, which will be essentially hosted by Giselle every Saturday night. Guys, there'll be changes to the format, not too much, when it comes to round number 2. Ooh. So that means there'll be an incredible, diverse second half of the show coming up. That'll be fun. And next week, if you watch the outro tonight, as you know, you'll have your first hint. I mean, look who we've had on so far. You'll have your first couple of hints as to who might be on next week. And next week, it is diverse and it is big again. It's going to be another one. I'll tell you what, it's going to be for the books. I can't even predict who's going to be the headliner next Saturday night. That's how big it's going to be. Guys, again, I'm going to keep plugging this Wednesday night Black Box, Joe Rizart's page, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then tomorrow, the Sunday Source kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time with Giselle and Paper Knife. Then Papa Red, Cooking with Purpose with John Red, 8 p.m. Eastern time, followed by The Howard Show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, exclusively on YouTube. Check it out. Guys and gals and pals, some great moments, some great memories. There are some great memories of the green room, but there's also a lot of intrigue about who's coming in next, who's showing up. Every single Saturday night, people are wondering, man, we're on such a high. How can we possibly exceed the feeling that we've had? Well, you know, it's all about the what, and that's TKN. It's all about the where, which is YouTube and Facebook. It's all about the when, Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. But as you all know, on Saturday nights, around this time, every single Saturday night, it is also about the who.
Tell you this, Avi, you definitely do your homework.
It was intellectually stimulating, and which is kind of a unique thing in this world of ours today.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator and travel with me, because I will pay you.
And Avi, great job. This is interesting and different.
Well, thank you very much. I can't think of a better way to begin the new year than with you.
Avi is a poet, but he doesn't know it, but his feet show it. You're unbelievable.
Dan looks, throws into the end zone, and is caught. It is a touchdown. All right! Touchdown, Miami. Yes, sirree!
Three, and then the Lakers. O'Neal with the emphatic rejection.
Samaki Walker, the ball into Shaq. He's going to the hole. Slam dunk.
Go down the side. They do. Stock's got it. He's got running room. Stockton, grab, hang it up. It's good. It's good. The Jazz win it. The Jazz win it.
Starts with mom and dad at home. If you have a well-adjusted child at home that has a base, a foundation through mom and dad, they can watch a show like wrestling. They can watch the aggressiveness on football, basketball, baseball, any sport you can imagine, and say, well, not everybody acts that way.
It's that, to me, again, I think I'm either blessed or cursed, but I'll say blessed sitting in the promoter's chair before.
And who's coming up next, guys? Who's coming up next? Just to show you that who's next is accurate.
And I said, who do you think it should be? Oh.
It was right there.
And he leaned forward again.
Right in front
he said, you're looking at him. No, that'll work. You know?
I said the world
you're never gonna change it, no matter how hard you try.
I'll tell you, man, you read all the news about the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah.
I sat down, I cried, man.
Mm.
And when I think of them letting that little lady sit in that harbor and decompose. I'll tell you something, it just relates exactly to what's going on in this country.
Here is another creative toy, safe enough for a baby.
Well, it's safe. I mean, this aquarium and the kids on the farm. Hello. You know what I mean? It's just an example. I'm not trying, it's just an example, you know what I mean?
I know you young people want to be hip. You know, you want to be like the Backstreet Boys or Christina Aguilera.
Divider? I'm a uniter, not a divider.
Snap out of it.
Don't do it to me, Will. It'll ruin me. I know. But it's best for the firm. Vindictive son of a bitch. The best thing for the firm is me.
And you want to tell me that those fights weren't real? That you were carried? Well, I don't believe it! It doesn't matter what I believe, because you're the one that's got to carry that fear around inside you. Afraid that everybody's going to take things away. Afraid you're going to be remembered as a coward. That you're not a man anymore.
What are you doing here? Ladies and guests, hey Tex, looks like you're putting on a little weight there, huh? Could I speak with you in the kitchen just for a moment? Hey, not now, Willie. Your pumpkin's on fire. His pumpkin's on fire. Come here.
Winds of 150 miles per hour are right now forecast.
I'm not keeping this for myself. Ladies and gentlemen.
And he goes, hold the cookie sheets in front of the fireplace because we don't want any of the broken glass to fly. And I go, hang on. Does that sound right to you?
Heavenly and ivory, just living in perfect harmony.
We're talking salt and pepper, Sammy and me, Stevie and me are peachy keen.
You are white,
you are black, and who cares? Who cares, baby?
How about that rendition of Who's Next? How about all that? Mind-blowing, mind-boggling, and I guarantee you, at least one, if not two. Hey, it could be Alf. Don't laugh. It could happen. Anybody can show up. You imagine if you turn on the green room and all of a sudden the countdown clock, 5 minutes has gone by, the intro already off screen, and now the first, second, third luminary pops up, and there it is. It's Alf in all his glory. You never know what's going to happen here in this place. But I guarantee you, if you can't feel the energy coming out of my pores right now, you're not human, or you're not listening, or you're not feeling. I know we talked about feeling. I know we talked about listening. We need to do all that right now. We got to feel and absorb this. There's only a few more spots remaining, and we all want in. I have to stop Black Box. I have to stop my meetings. I have to stop what I'm doing. Some of you have been privy to that because they're calling and texting and emailing. We want in. We want in. We want in. Only a few more spots remaining. Guys, take it away.
Woo! That's all I got to say. Eric Bischoff, right there, right in front of us.
Dude, Eric Bischoff,
all bets are off.
Insane. I mean, that is, we talk about memories. I remember those days we would grill out outside all day long, getting ready for just watching, Monday Night Wars. When you said it earlier, I was like, holy smoke.
The man looked at Ted Turner, Ted Turner's still with us. He looked at Ted Turner when Ted Turner asked him back in 95, why are we not beating the WWF?
Yeah.
There were two companies left. It played out like some sort of incredible play before our very eyes, where each company, as big as they were in the 70s and 80s, they fell down as these big giant tanks, one up north and one down south, called WCW. They plowed through those companies. They took their talent. Of course, it's business 101. They were able to give them better contracts, a better livelihood, and those companies went under, and it was only down to two national companies. Played out like a major soap opera, but it was happening in real time. And he looked at Ted Turner, and he didn't know what to say, and he said, well, damn, give us a show on prime time like they have. He had a few months to put that show together, to put Monday Nitro together. And if he knew how many times, when I think of, of those days, of course, I haven't watched wrestling in years, but I remember Nitro. When I think of the energy, when I think of how they were always live, and he'd always scream that out, we're live. When I think of how they revolutionized television back then, for those who are wrestling fans, cruiserweights got their first exposure from Mexico. The heavyweights, of course, were up top. There were people from Japan all over the world competing, and they were doing it live, and they were doing it in such a way that nobody's ever seen before. Storylines that were adult-like. All of a sudden, there weren't these gimmicks that we couldn't relate to in our mid-20s. People used their real names. God Almighty, they were able to turn the company around because of this man's vision, and he really created something that I think is not just a footnote in pro wrestling history, but it is pro wrestling history. And guys, again, that's what we're doing here with TKN. It's a bit different, of course. Everything's different. It's to do something different, not for the sake of it, but because if you do something different, you'll feel better about yourself. Doing something different reminds us that we are so similar because we're starving for innovation. That's the similarity, is we each want innovation. We don't want the same old, same old. When you watch a series or a show, it may speak to you, but how many times do you say, I've already seen that episode?
Yeah.
I don't care how good the storytelling is or how good the writing is. You've checked out mentally because you've already seen it happen before. Not here on TKN. The topics are going to be fresh. The luminaries are always going to be obviously different every time they show up. The combinations in round 2 and 3, think about all the different matchup possibilities we have. Everything is always going to be different, fresh, and live. That's what TKN brings here. John, Giselle, Mindy, Howard, the floor is yours before our next video.
I'll just very quickly say there's no blueprint for what we've been doing. And, you alluded to Eric Bischoff. There was no blueprint for what he was doing. It was just a reaction against what, the other company was doing. But what we're doing here, there's no blueprint for it, and that's the exciting and amazing thing about it. John?
When I think of Eric Bischoff and to being the mastermind, I think of 3 letters, NWO. I mean, that NWO just spread like wildfire. I mean, I remember the T-shirts, and it's like they had all the big names. The NWO had all the big names at that point. And when someone went over to NWO, because it was like the bad side, we called it. It was like you didn't want to see it, but you couldn't help but watch it. Yeah. And that's kind of what we got going on here. Even though that you have people coming together, and you're thinking, how is this going to work? But when they get on there, they're not the same people we thought of. I never would have known anything about Eric Bischoff other than WCW and NWO and all this until the green room, the celebrity tournament, and now I respect him so much more than I could have ever done before because of this show.
Right from the outset, one of the very first things one of the competitors said was how cool this was, how amazing it was that they're on screen with these other people from these other fields. Tonight, from the beginning, was the essence and the epitome of competitive camaraderie. And we have seen that week after week. They all want to have dinner together. They want to hang out after the show. They want to meet each other again in round 2 because they have enjoyed the conversation so much. And Mr. Babcock hasn't been back here in a while. Tonight, he's seen how this tournament has changed over time, how it's evolved in the last over a year now, from those first matches in April, May, June of 2023 to what we have today. And that's why people are knocking at our door every week. That's why round 1 is still happening. That's why we return week after week. What are they going to say? How are they going to approach the topics? What new information am I going to learn? Who am I going to meet? And it's a beautiful thing to witness every single week because it's so refreshing. It's so different. I can't think of anything else like this or anywhere else I would rather be. Mindy, what are your thoughts?
That's right. Well, think about tonight, Giselle, when Pete was talking about his event coming up and Mark was like, Avi has our number. We will come and we will do this event with you. Where else are you seeing and hearing of connections being made like that? And it's happening live in front of everyone where, and I mean, it's piggybacking off of what you said, but they're making these connections and getting to know each other on a personal level live. I mean, we're not talking about their accolades. They already know that about each other. They know they're Hall of Famers in their respective fields, but they're getting to know the personal touches of each other that makes them want to work together. And that was even an even more personal touch tonight when Mark's like, hey, Avi has our number. We will work together with you on this event. That was even a more powerful touch, which is probably going to make it even more difficult for Avi, unfortunately, come tomorrow morning, come Monday morning, because even more people are going to be calling him saying, hey, I want in on this thing as well. But it's a good problem.
Let me say this too. Again, for a couple of people who would message me, listen, when you know what you're doing and you have direction and you have purpose and you're surrounded by people you trust, that you care about, nothing, and I mean nothing, can get in the way. Not Facebook posts, not Instagram posts, not TikTok posts, not people sitting at the keyboard going, oh, I wonder what I'm going to type. I wonder what I'm going to say to kind of get people down. And, well, you know what? It's going to happen. You can't avoid it. Don't try to avoid it. The only thing you can do is know that it's going to happen. It's going to happen in your personal life. It's going to happen in your professional life where people are going to want to take shots or spin narratives. Yeah. Guess what? Don't let anyone rob you of your happiness. It's that simple. You will allow them to take something that's inherently valuable if you give them anything but your own sanity. Don't give them your sanity. Don't give them that, because people want a slice of your sanity. That sanity is very valuable. And what you occupy here is very, very valuable too as well. So again, you have the power. You do have the power to take this index finger and make sure that you go away, click, block, leave. It doesn't matter. Not everyone is going to understand you. And if they did, you'd have one hectic life. You don't need that. We don't need everyone understanding us. We need the people around us to understand us. And guess what? That saves the amount of time you have to communicate with the world. The world exists, guys and gals, right now in a very odd fashion, because digitally speaking, we can connect. And the fact that we could do it here is such a blessing, because yes, I haven't broken bread with Pete. And Mark Henry hasn't broken bread with Pete Babcock. And then, of course, Grant Fuhr had never met Eric Bischoff. And all these things are happening because they're reminders of what we could do if we put aside our differences, even with a microphone and with headphones. If we challenge ourselves to be different, we can be better. If we're not going to be different, we're going to be no different than people that are looking for sound bites that are obscene and filthy and lewd. We may not have 5 million views per video, and I'm happy. You know why? Because A, I don't live in yesteryear. I don't have to show some video of me in my wild days. They would probably get 10 million views. Believe me, they would. Trust me. All right? I would dance in romance back in the day. But you know what? I don't need to live in yesteryear. I don't need to do that. So for those that want to just make sure that they remind people that they're still valuable, there's nothing wrong with going and taking a trip down memory lane. But we're not doing that. We're living in the present. We're putting out content that matters now because we know who we are now. We don't need, a photo from 1997 to remind us of how valuable we are in 2024. So remember that, guys and gals. Don't rest on your laurels. Make sure you live in the present. And the best way to do that is to embrace the future by creating it any way you'd like. It's not a crime to do so. It is not a crime to turn people away. It is not a crime to say no more. It is not a crime to say, I will not take it. It is not a crime. What is a crime, I think, is that if you are waiting for a reservation at a restaurant, if you don't ask for a lingering table to hurry up, I think that's a crime. I mean, a little something like some people might just do the watch thing, but I would go one step further. I remember doing this once. There was like, a lingering table that knew that we were waiting, and this was in LA, and I walked up to the gentleman. It was about 8 of them over there, and I said, come on. It's time to go. Come on. You got to go. And of course he did. So that's something that affects me. Lingering tables. Would you guys ever do that? Would you ever approach a table that was lingering if you had a reservation, you were waiting to sit down? Would you approach these ruffians who are sitting there for an extra 45 minutes, not being mindful that you're waiting?
I'll do the hurry up cough, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that might work. Hurry up.
Well, I'll be honest. No one ever took me anywhere that required reservations, so I wouldn't know.
Ooh. Oh, John Red. That was a shot to Papa Red.
Yeah, that
Maybe the next guy will.
Oh.
Oh, that's interesting. So what do you think there, John? What are your thoughts?
Papa Red?
Well, Mindy wasn't the type of person you would take to a restaurant that required reservations. You don't have to have reservations at McDonald's and Burger King. That was more of her style, if you know what I mean.
Well, if that's all you would pay for, that's all I'd eat at, huh? That's all you could afford. $1 hotel, or was it by the half hour? What was it?
So you wouldn't ride. I mean, maybe you would take an Uber, but that brings me to my next question. Maybe if you're not riding with John and you're riding in an Uber, is it inappropriate to sit in the front seat? I think
Uber?
In an Uber, yeah. Is it inappropriate to sit in the front seat?
I feel like if you
is it, Mindy?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sit in the front seat.
You wouldn't want to, Howard? Is it inappropriate to sit in the front seat?
I like the back. There's privacy there.
Yeah.
John?
Well, see, I'm a tall guy, so sometimes, depending on the car, I would ask him, "Hey, do you mind if I sit up there, in the front?" But I would never just do it automatically. I think you have to ask, and that most of them are receptive. They're like, "Yeah, it's fine." It's fine.
Giselle?
It also might depend on how many people you're with.
Yeah.
They don't want you up there. The answer is they don't want you up there. Don't you guys understand? Leave them alone. They don't want you up there. How are we living in a world where Uber drivers are ranking us all of a sudden? How do you rank us? Can you imagine this? You're living in a place in New York City. It's tough enough to hail a cab. Now you got some Uber drivers going. This guy's got a 3 rating. I don't want his money. What?
Yeah.
What?
Look at John trying to sit in the front seat with the Uber driver.
Lions, guys.
What is that, 3 out of 5? 3 out of 5 would be average. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I'd pass up a 3 out of 5.
I'm just saying, I think the Mayans were right. Something happened in 2012. Something happened. This cannot be the world that we expected. Things are what's up is down, what's left is right. I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing as when you're traveling with a group for a short trip. We've all done that, 3 or 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Is it okay to check your bag when no one else is checking the bag?
Like if you're flying?
Now, you're traveling with a short group. You're flying. There's about 6 of you. No one's checking a bag. Should you check the bag?
Well, hang on, though. You think, what's a short trip to you?
Let's say it's A weekend, Friday to Sunday.
How many bags do you take for that short of a trip?
Now you're being too detailed. Are you checking a bag when nobody else is? Nobody else. So it's John, it's Mindy, it's John, it's myself, it's Giselle, it's Howard, and it's Julie. So we're all going out. We're taking a weekend together. Yeah. No one is checking in a bag at all, except for Howard. Is it right that he does so?
That's very, very rude. If you were the only one to check, because it's going to be, you have to totally divert the exit to go get the check bag, and most likely you're all riding together.
Did we discuss this before? Did we have this conversation?
Yes, Mindy's right. Mindy is onto something. You have to be able to have the conversation before. It's like it's like ordering an appetizer when everyone's ordering a main course. Right? Like, think about that. Hold on. Slow down a second over here. You're ordering an appetizer. Everyone else is already up to the main course. We've got to watch you eat a 3-course meal now just because you decide to do things ass backwards.
Well, you got to share
the thoughtful thing to do is call people up and ask them if they're sending that, a baguette on that emoji check chain or something. Like, if everyone weighs in and no one else is checking, you've got to be a real asshole if you proceed to check in. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, as long as if we discussed
in
it
this
before,
half hour of your life, you're like everybody else. Sorry, buddy. That's it.
My thought is if they order an appetizer, you start eating it. They won't do it again.
With the appetizer, as long as you share it, you know what I mean? Because it's even awkward. You're just there eating a good meal, and everyone's just kind of looking at you.
You know what I mean? Come on, we're trying.
Wait, what if you order the appetizer as your entree?
That only works if you're really eating the appetizer slowly, because you're not attracted to your partner, and you realize if you're going to eat the dinner really quickly, they're going to want to have sex with you that night. So maybe you're slowing down, stalling a little bit. So
I sometimes going to give you a lot.
I'm trying to install some tactics. There's some tactics here.
How many times does that happen, though? I mean,
yeah.
Answers the question.
Mindy with the stump.
A couple times. Jeff says, never know what the after show is going to have on store. Right? Yeah, a little comedy. Deep questions, a question of etiquette, according to Dion. Thank you, Allison. Mindy is onto something. Thank you, Julie Hall. Love the love.
The whole point is you talk about if you're going on a trip.
Thank you, Alexander. We appreciate that. Mary asks, what if you can't carry on what you want to take? Then don't take it with you.
Can't bring it with you.
Don't bring it with
you.
you.
Drive. That's why
Avi, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Allison. We appreciate you too. Go ahead, John.
Difficult, Avi.
If you're out with say you're the girl, and you know it's not going anywhere, right? You know it's not going anywhere. Is it appropriate to order the steak and lobster? Is it? I mean, if you know that you don't really, this is probably gonna be the last date for this guy. Is that appropriate for you to order the most expensive thing on the menu?
No.
Well, who says he's paying?
That is true.
Have you had more dates with this person? Who says he's paying? Are you going Dutch? Is she paying?
There's so many different ways to. It's like the game of chess. It's so many different ways to approach this. There's so many ways, John. So if you know that you're not having that second date, is what you're asking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that a brand? Obviously, if you're paying, you order what you want. But should the guy order the steak and lobster if he knows he's not paying, and he knows he's not going back out with his girl?
So the guy's not paying?
Yeah, I mean,
in any event, whether it's you paying or is it, if you're not the one paying, is it appropriate to order the most expensive thing on the menu?
Are you okay? Hang on, you got to make the question more clear. Are you saying make it clear, because you're not sounding very smart at the moment?
Yes, he is. I'm just thinking it's a deep question.
Are you meaning if you're taking the lady out and you're planning to pay for her, and then she knows that it's not planning to go anywhere, should she order the steak and lobster? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I think it's nice that you order the lobster, because if you don't plan on going anywhere with this young lady, then maybe ordering the lobster shows her that she still is of high value in your life. That, hey, I wouldn't order the lobster, even though I'm not going to do anything with you later. I don't want you to think that it was anything that you did wrong, because if you did, I want to order the lobster.
Perhaps.
Or if I was the lady, maybe I order the steak and lobster because I know he ain't worth nothing and there's nothing else that,
No, I'm saying if I know I'm not going to go on a second date with, if I'm not going to go on a second date with, if I know I'm not going to go on a second date with someone who overtalks like Mindy, if I know that's not going to happen, sorry, Mindy, I had to. Here's what I'm going to do. I know for a fact that it's not going to happen again, but she's nice, she's hospitable, she's great. I'm going to order the lobster because it's going to make her feel really good. It's going to make her feel like.
Are you ordering for her or for yourself?
For myself. Yeah. For myself.
For
because
yourself.
He's enjoying himself. He's having a nice time.
It lets her know, like, you treat yourself. You know
No. It has nothing to do with treating myself. It lets her know that I want to sit down and enjoy lobster dinner because I'm having a nice time.
Are you ordering the lobster for her?
No,
to make her
For
this time?
myself. For myself.
Yeah.
Because
What
I
is
don't want to
she
hurt her
doing?
feelings. If I just said I want a salad, that's going to hurt her feelings. She's going to think this guy's not into me.
Yeah.
But you're not into her because you're dumping her the next day.
Yeah, but I don't want to hurt her feelings.
Yeah.
Why not?
But you're gonna
Why
hurt
don't
her
you
feelings
just go ahead and
eventually.
cut it off instead of leading her
I mean, I
on?
could go for like laughs, but I'm not. I would probably not want to hurt her feelings. And then when she calls me, I just block her number later on that night.
Oh, you're gonna do the ghosting route?
Because I'm a nice guy. Because I'm a nice guy.
But I mean, are they going to be ready for a conversation that starts with, "Look, I'm not feeling it. It's not
I
happening."
wouldn't
If you're gonna
block
order
her.
lobster, don't ghost.
I would let her
Thank
know
you.
that we can always go out for lobster, and by always I mean at the
Never
pace
again.
and duration of this tournament. You know, like maybe once every 5 years. We'll
There's an eclipse.
a little bit. And you know what? I'll tell her. I'll even put together a video package of our lobster eating dinner together. Right? It'll be like a 3-minute best of compilation video. It'll be fun.
She could wear her biz thing.
Yeah,
your
yeah, it'll
fingers
be a
and
nice
stuff.
experience. A
Slow-mo,
funky adventure.
Yeah.
You're allergic to lobster and you don't eat steak.
Oh.
That would be
I
a
don't
line
eat
on Klein.
lobster.
Just money, everybody. Eat. So if you order meatloaf, you don't like her? Well, I like meatloaf.
Oh, I like meatloaf. That's a southern thing. I like some meatloaf.
So if you're not into her, don't bring her to a place with steak and lobster on the menu. Well, I don't think you can really know if you're into someone until you have a nice conversation with them. Maybe perhaps in this, I don't know what the context of this is, but I'm assuming it's a first date. How can you really know unless you sit down and have a dinner with them? You can't really tell, right?
Yeah.
So then they'd probably be ordering before they knew if the date was going to continue or there'd be a second date. So then it wouldn't be a problem if the lobster or steak were ordered because you didn't know at the time that you ordered that it wasn't going anywhere.
I probably would order the steak and lobster, but I would have already known at that juncture if I'm interested or not. I think in my case, I probably would pick up on vibes very quickly if I'm.
Well, the Uber ride.
Are we talking about surf and turf here? Combine them, get both of them together.
Look, that might be the best part of the date, right? Is the surf and turf. So
Surf and turf.
why not? Why have to go through something that's uncomfortable on an empty stomach? Or like, why not? I'm already there. Let me just at least enjoy. And plus, I could recommend it. And even better, I could take a better date to that same place.
And you're
Force bum, wait for it. Steak and lobster. There you go.
You guys are assuming she likes steak and lobster. What about Mexican food? This girl might prefer tacos.
Taco Bell.
And she can have tacos. All right, guys and gals, steak and lobster. No, listen, at the end of the day, what we're trying to remind you all is that, we could be scumbags every now and then, but it's okay. We embrace it. Remember, Elaine mentioned the bisque. Do you order dessert if you like your date? I don't eat sweets, so no.
I don't either.
Yada, yada, I ordered the bisque. I remember that episode. Meatloaf is yummy. Absolutely. So, guys and gals, here's what else is yummy. What's yummy is the outro we're about to play right now. It's always yummy. It's scrumptious. Mindy, Howard, Giselle, and Papa Red are going to be watching the outro. We'll bring some comedy to you as well. Some awesome conversations post-tournament wrap-up. But just remember this, guys. Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time is the place to be live. Get people on board. If you really like what you're watching, subscribe. Comment on YouTube daily. It's 5 minutes. Make sure you get it out there. Share the videos. Like the videos. Comment. Even on our Facebooks. All over the place. It's every day we're giving you chock full of information as it pertains to the tournament, our talk shows. And again, what you never know what you're going to get. You never know who's going to show up. We started the show with Jim McMahon. And then, obviously, Eddie Johnson was there, I think, prior to Jim. So Eddie Johnson was first, then Jim McMahon, then Pete Babcock, then Mark Henry. And I've even mentioned the luminaries. You know, it looks like it's official. I know I said we're going to vote for Calvin and John O'Hurley. I'm going to keep this thing going. It's going to be like a reoccurring theme. It might be a storyline. Who advanced in that matchup? Will we find out Wednesday? If enough of you show up, yes. If not, the next Saturday night where we have a plethora of people coming in. Last week, 76,000 views in 10 hours. 76,000 of you watched The Green Room on YouTube in under 10 hours. That was amazing. Good night, Mindy. Sleep tight, says Pinocchio Joe. See you soon. Pinocchio will be here, guys. Pinocchio, hey, if you don't vote for Pinocchio Joe in the Second Chance Bowl, I can't reveal my bias, but all I'm going to say is he might be coming after you. Second Chance Bowl voting will take place this Wednesday, no matter what. There's only 4 spots left. Will Pinocchio Joe grab a spot? Will Rock Richards grab a spot? Who knows? Maybe it'll be Peter Melman, Jeff Timmons, Lila Robbins, Cindy Pickett. There's so many amazing Dr. Fink. And next week, we have more celebrity judges already booked. It's going to be an extravaganza, a bonanza, if you will. Next Saturday night, one of the final episodes of round number 1. They're trying to squeeze in that door. Grant Fior, guys and gals, Miles Avery, and Eric Bischoff brought it. I can tell you that Eric Bischoff is in round number 2. I can tell you that Miles Avery's in round number 2. I didn't count enough of Grant Fuhr's votes, so unless he tied, he's not. He might have tied. We'll find out Wednesday if he tied or not, but we do know that Bischoff and Miles Avery are in round number 2 of this amazing tournament, and they are excited. They want to win. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this thing transpires. Guys and gals, Gisele's going to give us Unsung Heroes next Saturday. Trust me, she will. It's going to be amazing. With 2 celebrity judges, we went a little bit long. That happens sometimes. Next week, there'll only be 1. That means we'll have much more time to delve into Unsung Heroes. Truly Julie will be back as well. And guys, tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel, it will kick off with Paper Knife starring Gisele. Afterwards, it'll be Papa Red, Cooking with Purpose live. And then Howard Collado will be the nightcap of the evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time to close out the Sunday Source. Those talk shows will air every couple of weeks on YouTube. Stay tuned for local listings on Facebook and everywhere else, social media. And that being said, guys, the outro, the hints at the very end, will provide you with some monikers and accolades of some of those who will be on next week. 3 to be exact. Enjoy the outro. And remember, every week you can vote for your top 10. So your top 10 will be in this outro video, guys and gals. That's right. It will be in this particular video. And a little bit of a tease for you. Next week, if there's time, I'll talk about something that also means a lot to me as it pertains to a show that will welcome anybody and anybody that wants to be on it. History of the World. Guys and gals and pals, this is a bit of a trailer. All things Revolutionary War. If there's time, we're going to make it fun. You're going to enjoy it. I'll tell you what, when I teach, it's the same way Mark and Pete do it. I want to make sure I bring you into the story. I want to make sure you're right there on the front line and you're experiencing it. That's what it's going to be like next week when we talk a little bit of history as well. So again, for Gisele, Howard Collado, Mindy Red, Papa Red, Pete Babcock, Mark Henry, Grant Fuhr, Eric Bischoff, Miles Avery, Jim McMahon, and Eddie Johnson. We are the Green Room, and so are you.
Obsession's going to be talent every time. You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed? Is it all you ever think about?
But you know what? It was recognizable in him, and he's just one example of instant overnight success.
Because the way you're looking at me, we must be old friends.
Piper, you're a jerk.
So I'm very honored, and I thank everybody very much. Thank you.
Reversal. Sleeper hold.
Think about everything that you plug into an outlet. Think about everything that can go wrong with that.
I would have to say winning the World Series in 2004 with the Boston Red Sox.
Absolutely hammered into right.
Big Lebowski, one of my favorite movies, and one of the best posters, I think, tells the story. That looking at that poster.
We got the gold. They gotta come to us.
I had to go to the Supreme Court in order to play in the NBA.
Spencer Haywood backing in on George Johnson. What a move.
You find a bruise or something, then what do? You start looking through hours and hours of footage to try to figure out when that happened.
So my reading tends to be historical. I like to read history. Nobody will pay for what works. They'll pay for what don't work.
But there's never enough time in the day to do all the things that I do.
Only thing in my life in baseball is I couldn't hit or throw a curveball. So my days were numbered when it came to baseball.
30-yard touchdown pass. Rippon has struck gold.
Characters that got over in our business are the characters that are true close to the real personalities of the person.
You know what we're going to be hearing when I step towards the ring? You're the man!
With that, I realized that I've been successful because I've earned the right to be silent.
And now, here's your host, John O'Hooley!
But it doesn't matter how wrong somebody else is, it doesn't automatically make you right.
Play's going to be the victorious one.
But as an adult, and we have that vision, they don't, because at that time, it's every moment for them. For us, we've experienced that.
Part of Coop's success comes from a tireless work ethic.
You know, you got to stand behind them, because one day they're coming for him, the next day they're coming for you.
And when you rhyme, there's lots of bull.
And it made me so happy that Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo wrote that. It just made me so happy.
Not doctors, you should go for a valley dude.
You know, your now is not always your reality for forever.
I opened my heart and I opened my soul and I told you things.
TGIF lineup in the 90s was the epitome of American television.
Everybody keeps looking for it. Nobody's been able to find a print of it yet.
One should love the mutant, but hate the mutation.
So for me, that is why Psycho is continually an influence to horror.
Dance and acrobatics and diving, I could show people that
Yes.
that's how I communicated.
There are those who perform with magnificent skill.
But she went back to bring her family and friends with her.
It's the guy who's willing to die who's gonna win that itch. And I know if I'm gonna have any life anymore, you gotta look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you.
You know what? Maybe one of the world's problems will get solved by listening to this show.
I'm gonna win this whole thing. Watch.
I know you are, Tom. I know you are.